It is 10 o'clock as we start a brand new week here on Three Man Front. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson. Hey, Landrum.
Hi.
Conrad Van Order did the morning show this morning, so it's just the three of us. We be okay to make it, the three of us, Molly?
I think we'll be okay.
We're kind of getting used to this. What is 2 weeks without Conrad going to be? Nice is what it's going to be. I'm just kidding. There he is. He's walking into the control room now. I miss Conrad. Watching him grow up from afar.
For those watching on YouTube, you now get an opportunity to see what we see.
Yep. We might get a beaver sighting today with all the wet weather.
Yes, a wet beaver might be in our future.
You gotta keep your eyes peeled for the beaver. Old Bucky. He's excited that the tournament's about to come to an end. He's more of a baseball guy.
Is he?
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
We will dive into the Final Four. The Auburn Tigers, they have punched their ticket. They are heading to Bexar County, Texas. Landrum Roberts will be heading down to San Antonio on Wednesday. We will have extensive coverage on Thursday and Friday from the Final Four, as it has now been set. A little disappointing that we did not get 4 SEC teams in the Final Four, as Landrum so predicted in his bracket. But you know what? We've got 2 of the 4. Can't be too greedy, right?
No. You can. If there's anything to look back on, you would say, well, Ole Miss, you had a shot and felt like Ole Miss, and they could have won that game, and not to get Ole Miss Auburn Part 4, that was a little bit of a downer, especially for Ole Miss fans. But for Tennessee yesterday, man, and for Rick Barnes, that fan base has to think we are snakebit. We are cursed. As great as, and I told you, I texted you a couple of nights ago, Pat. I said, this Tennessee team, the way they're playing right now, that's the team that nobody's talking about, that if they get to San Antonio could make that run.
Well, that's the problem.
And anything could happen. That's the problem, Pat.
That's the operable word in
Getting
that sentence.
past the round of 8 for Tennessee basketball, and still that first Final Four appearance just out of the clutches of their grips. That's it's tough. But yeah, 2 of the 4, that's not bad.
Not bad at all. So the Auburn Tigers, they do get their way to San Antonio. Big win yesterday, 70-64 against Michigan State. Broom had a double-double at halftime. And for me, watching that game at the very beginning, the way Auburn was able to do what they could do down low, that was the game changer. Because you knew that Michigan State, they did not have the ability to shoot the ball very well from outside. And once Auburn established that, and Auburn went on the run that they did in the first half, you just had that feeling that Auburn had this in hand. Michigan State did not shoot well. They tried to have a run or two, but every time Auburn was able to kind of smack them away. But when you hold the Spartans to just 34% shooting, 30% from the three-point arc, I mean, they were going to have a 55, 60% day shooting from outside for them to have an opportunity to upset Auburn.
And a Tom Izzo team traditionally, and they've had better shooters, and they've had better players. They've had more talented rosters in their past. But to be able to do what Auburn was able to do yesterday, first of all, on the defensive side, you have to be so disciplined, because Michigan State, they're so disciplined, Pat, in their offensive sets, and they don't mind going deep into a shot clock. They're going to get a good shot, and they're going to rebound. Another thing that Michigan State and Tom Izzo teams don't do is they don't beat themselves. They don't turn the ball over. Yesterday, Auburn was able to, for all 40 minutes that I saw, it was relentless defense. It was staying with your assignment from the switches, whether it was big on smaller guy or smaller guy, having to post up with big. Thought the defensive game plan was awesome. And for Auburn to have less turnovers than Michigan State when it was all said and done, and some of the points that you were able to get off those turnovers, that was the big difference. But Janai Broom, first bucket of the game, when he goes right shoulder and he puts it up with the left off the glass, I think Auburn fans maybe got a sense of, oh, we're going to get good Janai Broom today.
Yeah, and then, of course, Broom got dinged up and he left the game, and you got concerned because when you see the parents come down behind the bench, then all of a sudden you start thinking, uh-oh, this might not be good news. Did he dislocate his elbow? You know, what's going on here? And so he went to the locker room, and then he came back, and then you put him back in, and he hits the three-pointer, and you're like going, okay, then there's no way that Michigan State is going to win this game based on what we just saw.
No, and for Auburn fan, that's going to be one of folklore. That's going to be, you remember where you were when Janai Broom came in and he hit that shot off the bench. That was a great moment for the folks, and I talked to some folks who made the trip over just yesterday to State Farm Arena to watch that game, and they said it was just, you couldn't hear yourself think.
Oh, and CBS did a really nice job because you could sense that, couldn't you, Molly, as you're watching the game?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was amazing just listening to it. And I can't wait to talk to Rob Payton later this week because he was there with his family during the Sweet 16 game. Not sure if he made it back to the Elite 8 game, but it was an electric atmosphere there in Atlanta. And you mentioned the fact that Auburn had 4 turnovers on the afternoon, and most of those turnovers came when Michigan State, with about a minute left, decided to start pressing full court.
Yeah.
And so Auburn kind of got a little sloppy, but for the majority of the game, Auburn just did not turn the ball over. And listen, the Spartans made it respectable because they hit 6 of their final 8 shots. But before that, they had no opportunity to get that thing within 8 or 9 points.
No, Auburn going on the 17-0 run in the first half, but every time it seemed like if Michigan State, not in the second half, they cut it to 5 points. But what did Auburn do? They would push it out immediately where they get a 3. That was Auburn maintaining and kind of holding that Michigan State team off at a distance. Then you started having to think, if you're a Michigan State fan, we're running out of time, and they're answering us bucket for bucket. Where are the points going to come from? I thought that for Auburn, maybe that's a big weight off the shoulders now. And I don't think this will be the mindset of this team, but this program, you've already been to a Final Four. And it's maybe you could sense a little bit of a difference. I could anyways, with just the folks that I talked to that were texting me, asking me about tickets and air travel, and maybe they're going to drive. But it wasn't new, like it's never happened before. And if Alabama gets back to a Final Four, it'll probably feel that way. Really, really exciting, but not, the first time this has ever happened. But for Auburn, just being there, I don't think that's enough for this team. I don't think they're going to be wide-eyed when they get to the Alamo Dome, and they got to play a team that, you know what, plenty about, and they came into your house on a 14-game winning streak, and they took your lunch money, and they made you like it. So for Auburn, I think the ultimate goal is, hey, keep playing hard, play up to your ability, let defense rule the day, and at the end of the day, maybe you're going to be cutting down another net. Anything can happen.
Let's hear from Bruce Pearl. This is post-Michigan State on his Tigers punching their ticket to the Final Four.
I guess the first thought is there are 4 teams in the country that are left, and Auburn is one of them. And so we couldn't be happier. I want to congratulate Michigan State on an incredible year. We saw them in Maui, and they were good. But I don't know that when we saw them in Maui that you'd look at that team and say, hey, they're going to go 17-3 in the Big Ten. And they did. The Big Ten was good. And I thought Tom and I talked before the games, our teams kind of mirrored each other in many ways, the way we defended, how hard we play, the way we try to, dominate the backboard, so on and so forth. But I felt going in that we were better. I felt like I had better players, and I felt like we, and that's not a criticism at all. I told our guys right now, we haven't beaten a team yet that I thought was better than us. And that's why we're the overall #1 seed. And now we're going to the Final Four where there are 4 1 seeds. And I think the 4 teams that are advanced, I think they're the 4 best teams in the country. That doesn't obviously always happen. So
there you go. That is Bruce Pearl after the game talking about his team's win. And he has not been shy all season long about his team and their dominance and them being the #1 overall seed. How well they have played throughout the year. They deserved that #1 overall seed, even though they did lose 3 of their final 4 going into Selection Sunday in the NCAA tournament. So Bruce Pearl, very pleased in regards to his team. Also, Bruce Pearl talking about his star player, Johni Broom. A lot of nervous people in that arena, including Bruce Pearl, about the injury. But then he brought Broom back, and Broom hit that big 3-pointer as Johni Broom finished with 25 points and 14 rebounds. Here's Bruce Pearl on the importance of Johni Broom.
Johni Broom stepped up again. Just keep doubting him and keep thinking that he's not going to be able to get to another gear. And one of the reasons why I'm on him, and my son Steven's on him pretty good, is because I know what he's capable of. I know what he's capable of. And he talked about delivering again at the biggest moments. Grateful for our fans and our families because Auburn looked, we are a football school. We are. Don't ever forget that. We're a football school. We are. But we are also an everything school. Okay? We're an everything school. And our fans represented really well here in Atlanta.
Pat, I don't know why it just dawned on me last night, and I texted you this, but I had to let somebody know. Auburn has been to 2 Final Fours in men's college basketball since the last time that Auburn won 10 games in football.
Say that one more time, just so that can kind of sink in.
Yeah.
It still feels so weird saying it. Auburn basketball has been to 2 Final Fours since the last time Auburn football won 10 games.
That is the stat of the day.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
2017 SEC championship game when they faced Georgia. Wow. No, BP. I know that BP's not trying to step on toes, and there's a proud tradition there. Maybe Freeze gets it back, but that is...
I have nothing to say.
mind blown.
Mind blown emoji. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
So anyways, were you able to sleep after that?
I was.
Okay.
But I kind of took me back. Wow. Did not think of it that way, but you are so right. So Janai Broom met with the media after his big performance. This is what he had to say after the win against Michigan State.
Man, words can't even describe it. The fact that this team, who's been working so hard from the time we got here to, even the first time I talked to coach, this was a part of our plans, a part of our goals, and still on top of the ladder in front of, all the Auburn fans still being there, traveling, and, witnessing it as well, and, looking down and seeing my teammates, the whole Auburn family. It just means the world to me to kind of be able to deliver for, Auburn family.
Janai Broom talking about that was the plan when he came from Moorhead. It was like, look, this is where we see this program going. And the plan obviously has worked out with him getting back to the Final Four. Broom was also asked about his injury, about when he went back in the locker room and what was said as he met with the medical personnel.
I went to the locker room. We have a great support staff. I checked my arm out. Doc said, nothing's wrong, you're good. Nothing serious. So at that moment, I just want to help my teammates. And if that's coming back out and playing and, hitting one shot and, grabbing a rebound, man, I was going to do it. If that was just, sitting on the sideline supporting, I was going to do it. So I came back out and, Dylan needed a break. So I went in for a couple minutes just to help us win.
Yeah, and there's going to be haters everywhere, but some people saying, let's quit acting like that was the most excruciating injury ever that he came back from. I can't ever judge somebody, and I know how it looked when he landed, Pat, and whether it was the ankle or the wrist or the elbow, it didn't look comfortable, but for him to go back to the locker room, get evaluated, then come back in, and then almost immediately comes back in, they kick it out to him, and he's got a spot up three, and he drains it. That was the death nail, whether Michigan State will admit it or not. But that had to have been this is just going to be their night. Mm-hmm. And it certainly was.
Yeah, it sure was. And so Tom Izzo loses his first ever game against an SEC team in the NCAA tournament. He was 10-0 before yesterday's game against the Southeastern Conference. So Auburn hands Tom Izzo his first ever loss against a Southeastern Conference foe.
Not only that, but a plus 10 in the point differential against those SEC teams that he beat. Mm-hmm. But for Auburn to do it against a Hall of Fame coach, a blue blood program in the Elite Eight, that just kind of adds to what the season has been.
And to tell you how good Tom Izzo is, so as I mentioned, it was his first loss to an SEC team. He's now 10-1. Izzo is now 8-3 in Elite Eight games because he's been to 8 Final Fours. All 3 of his losses in the Elite Eight came to the number 1 seed.
Not bad.
That'll do.
So
How do you not like?
You're gonna lose.
If you watch any of his press how do you not like Tom Izzo and everything that he's about? And even in the post-game press conference where Tom Izzo, he'll get choked up every now and then. He was trying not to get emotional yesterday, but talking about how much he loved that team and how they came together and they bought in and they did everything that staff asked them to do. Who doesn't want to send their kid to go play for that guy?
Yeah, and you could tell that there was a lot of respect from Bruce Pearl leading into the game, because as soon as he realized after they had won the game the other night and that he was going to have to face Tom Izzo, it was just like, we better be ready, because Tom Izzo is one of the guys in college basketball that can get his team up. Whether his team is as talented as yours or not, he's going to be able to scheme and be able to get his team ready to play.
And while some Auburn fans were saying, well, give us Ole Miss again, give us Ole Miss. I think that you would have rather had that Michigan State team for a first time this season to lock in, and it's different name on jersey, than a team that you've beaten 3 times and that's very familiar with you and what you do. So I think that Auburn actually drawing Michigan State was probably a little bit of a blessing just from a psychological standpoint.
And not to mention the fact that now the state of Michigan is owned by Auburn, which is hilarious.
I saw that graphic. That was really good.
Yeah, the Gulf of Auburn.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't. No, somebody else.
Well, it looked
did.
like a Pat Smith, maybe a Photoshop, and I was
no,
like,
I wish I could,
because you're clever.
I mean, I
wish
I could take credit for that.
But the Gulf of Auburn.
Yeah, the Gulf of Auburn, which was Lake Michigan, is now the Gulf of Auburn.
Where is Auburn, Michigan?
I don't know. Do you know where Auburn, Michigan is?
Where's Auburn, Michigan?
I do not, but I can do a quick search.
Well, you got Auburn Hills, but where is
Oh, yeah, that's where the palace was.
Mm-hmm.
So is it Auburn Hills, Michigan, or is it just Auburn? There's an Auburn, California, too, I think. Anyways.
I do not know.
I just don't know if they're going to have to rename the town now.
Change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad weekend for Michigan basketball fans. The state of Michigan, that is, because
then you had the Pistons.
There is an Auburn, Michigan.
A little bit going on there.
Is it on one of the lakes?
It's pretty close to Huron.
Okay.
It's kind of up like right here by the thumb.
Gotcha.
We're renaming that the Gulf of Auburn. Yeah. No, Gulf of Auburn. It's catchy.
It is catchy.
Let's get T-shirts.
I'm telling you, I think we could sell a few. At least I bet you we could sell a lot in the state of Ohio.
Absolutely.
State of Ohio would love that. All right, this is Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front. We have left this open because we want to hear from you. The phones are open, 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. We would love to hear from you on that. When we come back, we will talk about what happened to the Alabama Crimson Tide as they failed to make it to the Final Four. We will also share with you our Twitter poll question of the day, and it has to do with Alabama and the success or the failures of this season. All that on this Reaction Monday. Next hour, Skip Holtz will join us, the head football coach of the Birmingham Stallions. 12 o'clock hour, we'll talk to Mike Rodak from Bama 247 about some rumors going around about Nate Oats that one person in the basketball intelligentsia had to tweet out this morning that Nate Oats has turned down another job. We'll tell you what it is next on Three Man Front. It's 10:22, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX. We will get to your phone calls momentarily. Duke takes it to Alabama 85-65. It was the second lowest offensive output of the season for the Alabama Crimson Tide, only getting those 65 points. You knew it was going to be a rough night when Duke had 2 7-0 runs in the first 12 minutes, and then Mark Sears did not score his first bucket until 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock until halftime. He finishes with 2 points, 3 turnovers, 4 assists at halftime. And you knew that was going to be an issue. So Duke had a 9-point lead at the half, but the Tide was shooting 26% from outside. And when you've got Aiden Sherrill tied for the most points at halftime, you got an issue.
That's a problem.
That is a big-time problem. Granted, he came in and he hit those 2 threes, but when Sherrill and Grant Nelson are leading your team at halftime with 6 points, and there's no Youngblood, there's no Sears, there's no Holloway, you got issues. And I thought Alabama at one point had an opportunity. It was right at the under 12 timeout in the second half where Duke went 3+ minutes and did not score a point and had multiple turnovers, and Alabama could not cut into their lead.
Yep.
So that there was just nothing that Bama could do right. Also, Bama was 9 of 20 on layups. And if you're going to challenge their bigs down low and you miss 11 shots or 11 bunnies or cookies, whatever you want to call it, that's also going to be a problem. So it was just a recipe for a disaster. Mark Sears finishes 2 of 12 from the field, 6 points. Phylon, he got his points. He got 16 when it was all said and done. But Cooper Flagg, he had 16 points, but he turned the ball over 4 times. I thought the problem to me was...
Cooper Flagg was off a little bit.
Yeah, to me it was Knipple.
Knipple, yeah.
I mean, Knipple with 21 points and their bigs down low, they presented an issue. Yeah. I mean, he's 7'2".
Well, he's got a wingspan of, was it
16
8
feet?
16 feet. He is the goalpost at Thanksgiving with the kids. Just stands there.
Just holding it out there. So Alabama loses, and so, you just sit here and look at this team with all the preseason talk. Remember last year when it was announced that Grant Nelson was coming back, Mark Sears was coming back, Omori decides, I'm not going to North Carolina, I'm going to come to Alabama. Then all of a sudden, preseason ranked number 2 in America. Everyone said, you know what? They'll be in San Antonio. They'll be back-to-back Final Fours. Here's Nate Oats after a tough loss to Duke.
Obviously, a tough night for us. Duke obviously had a big part to do with that. They're a great team. They've got great players. Coaching staff did a good job getting them ready. Only one team's going to end up cutting the nets down in San Antonio. Won't be us this year. I told our guys we've raised this program to a level where the standard's really high. 99% of college basketball players would trade places with these guys with the year we had, but we're disappointed. We had bigger goals, and it's disappointing to go out like we went out. But I thought our guys stayed together. They kept playing hard.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that. I mean, there wasn't no backbiting. It wasn't like, even there. And I will give them credit, because the frustration was growing. And then there were times, especially under the 5-minute mark, where, you could tell Mark Sears was really pressing. Like he was just trying to get to the basket, and Duke just kept putting him on his backside, or, putting the ball about 3 rows up into the stands. But no one lost their cool. It was what it was against Duke. So it was just a bad shooting night for Alabama. And here's Nate Oats talking about how pathetic this team was shooting the ball.
If we have a tough shooting night, 2 years ago when we were the number 1 overall seed, I think we shot 3 of 27 from 3 and lost. But we had gotten 20 boards. We got to figure out ways to be able to win when we don't shoot it well. The offensive rebounding was a big one. We kind of said we need to, be elite at, get to the free throw line. We didn't do any well. They made more free throws than we shot, so we didn't get the free throw line enough in the old boards. We had 10, but they outscored us in second chance points. So obviously played really well 2 nights ago, and it's tough, within 48 hours from playing as well as we did to playing as poorly as we did. That's how the NCAA tournament works in a 1-game elimination tournament.
So you play poorly and you get sent home, and that's what happened. And Duke's as good a team as we've seen all year. We've got some really good teams in the SEC, and they're at that level, and it wasn't meant to be for us tonight.
It's been stated multiple times by people who cover Alabama who have reminded us, Pat, Alabama, it's a misnomer. They don't live and die by the three. Well, against BYU, they live by the three because the three was what was working, and why would you not fire up 51 if you're going to make 25 of them? But they absolutely had to have the three the other night against that particular team.
Mm-hmm.
Because where else are you going to get the buckets? Because Duke, they're so elite defensively. They make you be disciplined and work deep into a shot clock. So and if you come down, you throw one up, your first shot better go in. Your first shot offense better be great. Because that's going to be a lost possession most of the time. I mean, Duke is so solid, but Alabama, they had to have Mark Sears the other night. And Duke did a good job. They did exactly what Wimp Sanderson said on the Scout is what you do with a guy like Cooper Flagg the best you can, and what you do against Mark Sears. And that's turn your back to the basketball and guard him. He goes to the concession stand, you follow him.
Yep.
That's what they did.
Sure did. Here's Nate Oats talking about this team ending with a loss before the Final Four, but he also wants to remind everybody about the historic run this team has been on the last 3 years.
I don't know if there's been a better 3-year run in Alabama history. You know, we number one overall seed, make a Final Four, then make back-to-back Elite Eights. So while it was disappointing for the standards we set, most teams in the country didn't set the standards as high as we set them. You know, with the standard of excellence we've set across all of college basketball, we've established ourselves as one of the best programs in the country. Are we disappointed tonight? For sure we are, but we've put ourselves up there with everybody else, and we're going to continue to do that year in and year out and keep knocking on the door, keep pounding the stone, if you will, and, you know, be one of the teams competing for a Final Four and a national championship and conference championships in the best conference in college basketball every year, and we'll get back to Final Four and win one here soon.
There you go. Tide finishes 28-9, second most wins in school history. Alabama makes its fourth Sweet 16 in 5 years, its second Elite Eight in a row, and the third in school history. So Alabama, we talked about this about midway through the season, that we believe that if they did not get to the Elite Eight, it would be considered a poor season. They made it to the Elite Eight. They just could not beat Duke, so their season ends. And Molly, our Twitter poll question of the day is asking the listeners, since the Alabama season is over with, what their impressions of this year is.
Yeah, so Pat said it, but what letter grade would you give Alabama basketball for a season that fell short of the Final Four? Would you give it an A, a B, a C, or an F? And right now winning with 49% of our listeners voting for B, 33% saying A, 10% saying C, and 8% giving them an F.
And I think that kind of falls right in line with what we've talked about on this show before. Because if they had gotten to the Final Four, I think you would say that would have been an A. But getting to the Elite Eight, which we all know that is a very difficult task every single year, that you have to take your hat off. And so most of our listeners agree with that, whereas only 7% says that this season has been a failure by not getting to the Final Four.
Yeah, I grew up in the state, and so did you. And we know how fortunate we are right now with the basketball programs and their success that we've had.
No doubt.
Not only in Tuscaloosa, not only in Auburn, but right here in Birmingham with Andy Kennedy and the UAB Blazers. And then programs like Troy or Jacksonville State and others who have had really good seasons from time to time. But no, Alabama, they're going to be fine. Mark Sears not being in an Alabama uniform next year, it'll be a little bit different. I just wondered, since that LSU game, and there was so much talk, you know, what's going on, and I don't know if we'll ever get this from Mark Sears or from Nate Oats, but maybe the dynamic of those two and how they carried on about their everyday business for the rest of the season. You know?
Yeah.
Just seemed like maybe they were, not that that was anything that was maybe raise a red flag. I'm not saying being toxic as far as the culture in the locker room, but it just seemed like maybe Nate Oats and Mark Sears didn't see eye to eye on everything. Is that a fair 30,000-foot view?
I think so.
Okay.
And so I'm sure that we will ultimately Hear more about that as the days pass. When we come back, we've got a full bank of phone calls. We will get to those calls on this Reaction Monday. Your thoughts on Auburn making it to the Final Four in San Antonio. They'll take on the Florida Gators. Meanwhile, Alabama's season has ended with a loss to the number 1 seed, the Duke Blue Devils. First time since 2008 that all 4 number 1 seeds have made it to the Final Four. This is Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. On a rainy Monday, a lot of toilet paper around Toomer's Corner this weekend. My goodness. Whew, that was something else. As the Auburn Tigers, they are on their way to San Antonio, Texas to take on a very familiar foe, the Florida Gators. So the two SEC teams will battle against each other there in the Alamo Dome coming up this weekend.
Builders, contractors, homeowners, when the project calls for precision and durability, Second Generation Masonry is the name to know. These are your guys for concrete work, cinder block, and beautiful stonework. If you're a builder needing a dependable local company for masonry work, Second Generation is the team. If you're a homeowner They've got stunning backyard transformations that they have done. Outdoor kitchens, hardscapes, patios, fire pits, fireplaces, retaining walls, concrete driveways. I always tell you, you dream it, they can build it. Every project's going to come with a 1-year guarantee. So if you're in commercial construction or residential construction, great company, Alabama-based, second-generation masonry. The craftsmanship speaks for itself. If you want quality that lasts, call Second Generation Masonry today. Find them online at secondgenerationmasonry.com. And as always, tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
So once the University of Texas made a change with Rodney Terry as the head basketball coach, word got out that Texas at least tried to kick the tires on Nate Oats, and Nate Oats was not interested in the University of Texas. And so I just literally, as I was in my office this morning before the show, and I was looking at Twitter, and I saw this tweet from Jeff Goodman. I honestly, I'm surprised that the morning show didn't yell down the hallway to tell me to shut my door, because I started gregoriously laughing at how ridiculous this tweet was from Jeff Goodman, saying that Alabama head coach Nate Oats has no interest in the vacant Maryland job, sources told the Field of 68. You really had to tweet that.
On my Nate Oats bingo card, I did not have Maryland.
I didn't either.
You got a coach that openly has been bitching and complaining about how bad it was working at the University of Maryland, where he took a job at Villanova. Now, again, Villanova is a good school. Villanova has got a FCS football program, so he doesn't have to deal with NIL from that standpoint. Villanova is one of the upper echelon teams of the Big East Conference. It's a good job. But for Jeff Goodman to tweet out that Nate Oats is not interested in the Maryland job, well, guess what? Neither am I. I mean, it's the same thing. It makes no difference whatsoever that you tweeted that.
No.
Like, why did you feel the need to tweet that? I mean, where there was no run whatsoever. Like, if there was a job that I think that Nate Oats, just like when Nick Saban flirted with the University of Texas, that did happen. We all know Texas has the money. I mean, you and I were going back and forth in text messages, and I was just kind of joking around. I just said, you know what? I mean, it's like Tennessee. Let's say that Rick Barnes decides I'm retiring. Okay, I've had a great career. Let's move on. If I was Tennessee, what I would do, I would immediately try to see if you could get the money to buy out Nate Oats and make Nate Oats the highest paid coach in college basketball.
I'm starting to wonder. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder, Pat, is this just, is it a state of Alabama thing? Because we got the same stories about Bruce Pearl. The UConn job comes open.
Indiana.
Well, I only know one guy who's perfect for this job.
Yeah.
And it's a 64-year-old that's rebuilt a program that gave him a second chance that seems like he's perfectly happy, but no, he wants to go to Storrs, Connecticut and try to do something that other coaches have done.
I mean, was Jeff Goodman tweeting that out because he's friends with the athletics director at Maryland?
Maybe so.
Or maybe Scott Van Pelt told him, hey, would you mind tweeting this to make people think that we're going to swim in some deep water? Like if we say that Nate Oats, like that's where we're shooting for. Well, if you're shooting for Nate Oats, then why didn't you take care of the coach that just took your team to the Sweet 16?
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Meanwhile, he's having press conferences talking about just being restricted and what was it, a $50 million practice facility that was promised. But he's going to go and he's going to coach at Villanova because things were that great in College Park, Maryland.
And that's why when I see that Buzz Williams' name is mentioned for the Maryland job, I'm scratching my head about that too.
Yeah.
Like why would you leave Texas A&M where you have everything at your disposal and you've gone to 3 consecutive NCAA basketball tournaments? Like, why would you want to go to Maryland?
Now, you write that story about Texas with Nate Oats. I could understand that.
Yeah.
With North Carolina, I could
possibly.
Yeah. When Kentucky was open, understand that. But
Maryland?
No. Nate Oats potentially in the NBA. But also, if Nate Oats goes back to the Big Ten, I think that the natural place that he could go would be to replace a Tom Izzo.
It was just like this story in the Albuquerque newspaper this weekend that said that Andy Kennedy was one of the finalists for the New Mexico job. Like, what? Like, where are these people? I mean, I know that we all get caught up in Jimmy Sexton, and I guess I don't even know who the power agent is in college basketball. I know Jimmy Sexton does some of them, but I don't think he does as many as he does in football. But these people just tweeting this crap out. I mean, it's amazing. It's bad. Let's get to the phone calls. I know many of you want to get on and talk about your teams from the weekend. Let's go to Pelham Gator, where his Gators have now made it to the Final Four against a very familiar foe this weekend.
You guys, I really thought with 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left in that game, we wasn't going no Final Four. This would have been our sixth Final Four, which it is. But I thought it's over. We've lost. We're down by 9. There's no way. We can't shoot the three. We weren't really hitting any hardly. I mean, Clayton wasn't hitting that much. None of the other 2 guards were. It was basically number 10, Tommy. And I just said, man, I gave up. I sound like a Debbie Downer, but I thought there was no such thing as a comeback. I mean, to me, that was miraculously a comeback. What do you guys think?
Oh, no, absolutely. No, that team, they showed resilience, and they did what they did in the UConn game. And while Todd Golden would probably like to be more comfortable during games, they turned it on when it mattered. And that was a team that was they were determined to get it done, and they did. And having guys like Walter Clayton Jr. and some of the other leaders on that team, that you can tell they play for one another. That is not a bunch of me guys. And you just look at their backgrounds and you realize why.
I mean, to me, I know that Clayton Jr. is going to get all the press because that wasn't a very impressive fadeaway jumper with 59 seconds left to put your team ahead. But Thomas Houck, man, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 of 6 from 3-point range. I'm telling you, I mean, he's
got the little baby mustache.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the he's got that working. So I think it's going to be just an incredible matchup between those two teams this weekend.
Yeah, well, you know, Pat, Condon's fell off some because of that ankle problem he had about 4 weeks ago. He hasn't been the same, you know, with shooting and everything, missing free throws. I mean, I know he's out there, but sometimes I wonder maybe Tommy ought to be getting more of the playing time, which he is, it looks like. But it's because Condon is not coming around after 3-4 weeks from that injury, and I just think Tommy stepped up to the plate. Talking about that game this week, yeah, I guess Don's all fired up, you know, and I'm sitting there when y'all said that Auburn might be a basketball school instead of football school. Forget both of them. They're a rodeo school. They only win championships in equestrian, so they're not either one of them other two anymore.
They won a national championship in golf, I think, last year.
Oh, was it golf? Okay, they moved up from rodeo. And by the way, not only that, Don, we're going to beat the Ward Chickens again. We own you guys. We've already swept you in softball this weekend and the girls. So I said, it's nothing like for Florida to beat Auburn. So be prepared when you're going to have to go out in the sunset with little Kaylee, because after you lose, we'll just send you back home. So if you wanted to get it going, well, it's going. It's on now, brother.
I got you, Auburn fans. I got you, Auburn fans. PG just dishing out the hate. Miss America, thank you, Molly. Miss America came from Auburn.
Sure did.
What was, I'm trying to think. Oh, Suni Lee. She's on commercials with Tom Brady. That's a big deal. It's a funny commercial, by the way.
Hey, I got to bring something to the table.
Oh, I know. I know.
You know, it's all fun. I hope I hope Auburn fans don't come after me now and say, woo, we're going after PG. I thought he was a nice guy.
You are a nice guy. You can't hide that.
Yeah, I guess. But guys, I can't wait. So Don's probably waiting on hold to blast me too. So let it rip. So thanks, guys, for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Thanks, PG. Appreciate you. We will continue with the phone calls. Speak his name. There he is. Like a vapor.
I got to follow. Landrum, I got to follow that.
Hey.
Well, hey, Molly, I need your help on something by tomorrow, okay, Molly? I need you to think of a challenge for me against PG. Whoever loses this game's got to do something stupid. I'm going to leave it up for y'all overnight, and you can let me and PG know tomorrow at Social Tacos.
All right, I'll get to thinking.
As long as, Bud, I don't drink anymore, as long as it doesn't have anything to do with alcohol, okay?
Dang it.
You should have seen her reaction when you said that.
No alcohol.
Yeah. Landrum and Pat know I quit drinking almost 5 years ago, but PG, you're my brother, but not this week, buddy. It's great to be a Gator hater this week, okay? That used to be my chant in the 80s and 90s when Steve Spurrier would beat me every year. But Pat, got a question for you, buddy, for entertainment purposes only. Did the Ole Miss game and the Auburn game, did you get the backdoor cover?
I took Auburn in the 5.5 yesterday, and I was kind of sweating it out there.
Oh, you got it, man. Oh, it went down to 5.5?
Yeah, it was 5.5. I got it at 5.5. So.
What about Hotty Toddy Friday night with that 50-foot three-pointer at the end of the game?
That killed me.
God.
I lost. Yep.
Yeah.
Because of that.
That's what I thought, buddy. You know what's crazy, guys, is when I was in Biloxi, you don't know how many times that's going to happen on either side. Vegas people are just incredible.
It is incredible. I mean, seriously. So that line for Auburn and Michigan State fluctuated a ton. Okay. And so I got it at 5.5, took Auburn at 5.5, and then it got up to 6. And then right at tip off, it was back at 5.5. And then
it went down to 4.5 overnight. I saw it at one point on Saturday night. It had gone down to 4.5, and then it was back up to 5, and then eventually 5.5. I faded Auburn as I've done, and I told Auburn fans I was doing them a favor, and once again, Auburn won. So.
But it's just the fact that Auburn won by 6. And I had Auburn 5.5. It's just it's amazing.
Well, see, I thought it was at 7.5 while I was asking that. But Landrum, who did you have for Auburn yesterday on your prize picks?
Prize picks. I had Janai. Felt like he was going to show up big, so I won on that one, and also had Chaney Johnson.
Yeah, well, Chaney Johnson played a good ball game yesterday.
He did. He really stepped it up when he had to. Yep.
Well, didn't you have Pettiford and Jones Friday night?
I did, and that worked out very well.
There you go. Well, my goodness, you're doing good, Landrum.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
thank you, Don.
Landrum, by the way, I know this. I know you're going to the Final Four in San Antonio, but I got a question for you guys. I think we had 12 or 13,000 yesterday. What would you put the over/under for Auburn fans in San Antonio? I would say 20,000.
Going to the game?
Yeah, Auburn fans at the Final Four.
I think 20,000 is a little high. I think I'm probably more around 10,000.
Well, if you would read the Auburn boards today,
maybe I'm wrong. I hope we're surrounded by Auburn fans when we're out there.
Well, I hope so too, buddy, and I hope, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And got a lot of pictures to show y'all from the Stallions event at Ramblers yesterday. Had a great crowd down there, and they had another watch party at a place in Tuscaloosa too.
Oh wow!
And the Pat Goodnews talked to Lyndon, the ticket manager, in the promotional team. They were down there yesterday. I think Heather was at the game with the team, but. Looking forward to that great event Friday with the Stallions.
Don, we will let you go. We're going to see you tomorrow. We're up against it. We appreciate it. Feel like we're up to date on everything going on. Thank you, Don. We'll get to more of your phone calls. 800-239-WJOX.
1054 Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX.
Well, for flu, pollen, and allergy season, keep your home cleaner with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those contributing to allergy and virus, and it's proven to be more effective than standard and HEPA air filters. So contact a Trane's certified dealer for the Clean Effects Air Cleaner.
So the transfer portal has been open for about a week now, and there's been a lot of rumors in regards to who Alabama is entertaining down in T-Town today. There's also been some rumors. Landrum from Lamont Paris, who is the head basketball coach at South Carolina, he did an interview this morning in which he was talking about one of his top players was offered $2.5 million to leave South Carolina and go play for another Southeastern Conference school. But apparently he has decided to stay put there in Columbia.
Yeah, and I'm guessing we're talking about Colin Murray Boyles.
That is correct.
6'8" guy who can really do a lot, and he was one of the bright spots of that South Carolina team. So, yeah, well, reportedly their quarterback that decided to come back for Shane Beamer, Mr. Sellers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is probably going to be one of the highest paid student athletes we have anywhere across the country, regardless of sport next year, from what I understand.
Yep. Also, some news coming out of Lawrence, Kansas. A very familiar name to our radio audience has entered the transfer portal.
Yes, Rylan Griffin. Remember that name. Sharpshooter at times, guy that could provide a lot of help for you on the offensive end, especially from the three-point line and the free throw line. He decided last year that he was going to go to Kansas, where the grass was greener in his eyes. Pat, looking at his overall stats.
Yeah, you were telling me how much they've declined this year.
Yeah, he dropped 5 points per game average. He dropped 7% with his 3-point average.
7%.
7%. Yes.
That's significant because not that he was shooting 45 or 50% at Alabama.
And his free throw percentage when he was at Alabama was 81.5%. This year, 67% for Coach Bill Self.
Well, do you think maybe Bill Self said, thank you for your service, but we're moving on? Because it didn't work for Kansas. There was a lot of things that didn't work for the Jayhawks. They were preseason number 1 in America. Alabama was preseason number 2.
Yeah, Bill Self, he's got to get some things figured out. They're not used to, was that first round game or second round game where Arkansas knocked him out? Was that round of 32? Was it first?
I believe it was the second.
Was it second?
I think so.
I should know. It was the only blemish I had in that region.
No, it was a first because the second round it was Coach Cal versus Patino.
Oh, you're right. So it was second round.
Yeah. First round, one and done.
More reaction here on this Reaction Monday. 11 o'clock here on Reaction Monday. Your phone calls welcome. Also, your texts are welcome as well. 800-239-WJOX. Look at that, Pat.
That looks like your backyard.
I wish that was my backyard.
Got a putting green.
They got a pickleball court.
Mm-hmm.
You could transition the pickleball court also to basketball court. I wonder if that putting green is like the one they have on TGL.
That was not your backyard?
That was not. And beautiful stonework that our friends at Second Generation mentioned. Probably did. How about our friends at Dobbs Ford? If I was not flying to San Antonio, I would go to Dobbs Ford and I would get either one of those great F-150s, the Broncos Sports. How about this, Molly? Mustangs. I know that you're a big fan of Mustangs.
I want that car so bad.
I know, but could you imagine just driving out to San Antonio in a Mustang convertible?
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. Dobbs Ford, it's a great family atmosphere when you go to Dobbs Ford on Parkway East. Joey and Rachel Goshen, the managing partners, husband and wife, their son Austin. Tell you about those guys all the time, but it's the entire team. Total transparency. You're going to get top dollar for your trade. If you are choosing to trade in a vehicle, you can do that. They'll beat any competitor's price. Dobbs Ford Birmingham. DobbsFordBirmingham.com. Check out the selection. And as always, tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
All right, so the Padres swept the Braves of the weekend.
Woo!
Beat them 5-0 last night. The Braves haven't scored in the past 22 innings. And on top of that, they sent the minimum to the plate last night. 27 hitters into the box, 27 out. They were swept in a 4-game series for the first time since they opened the season back in 1980 against the Cincinnati Reds. Now they face the unbeaten Dodgers. If you want to know, if you have not tuned in what's going on with the Braves, let me just kind of fill you in. They are 29th in the majors in batting average. They're batting 148 as a team. 148. They are also 29th in OPS at 484. They're ahead of only the New York Mets, who is batting 136 as a team, 476 ops. And also Atlanta is 28th in slugging percentage. They're also a Major League Baseball worst, 1 for 22 with runners in scoring position. So the Braves tonight will hopefully get Grant Holmes to maybe throw a no-hitter or a perfect game, and maybe the Braves can score a run because they're going up against Tyler Glasnow of the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's an 8 o'clock pregame show. You can hear Barrett Sully right here on the sister station, Jocks 94.5.
Going back to that stat, though, 2021, they started their season 0-4 versus the Phillies, and they went on to win the World Series.
Okay, we haven't won a game either. And we had the Dodgers, so good luck.
Well, that was yeah.
We have the Dodgers now.
I know, yeah. So good luck.
So we're just going to count this as a warm-up series. 2 warm-up series to start the season.
Well,
it's been bad, Pat.
Well, this is your good luck charm just got called up. Like, this just came out. That's why I was laughing, Molly, when I saw this. Jesse
Chavez.
He's back with the parent club. How many times has he been a Brave?
I think 5 different times, it seems like.
There's always a guarantee every year if you're following Major League Baseball that Adam Duvall will be a Brave at some point in time. Jesse will be a Brave at some point in time. Who else am I missing? Soler will find his way somehow back into a Braves uniform.
You'll get Luke Jackson, relief pitcher.
Yeah, that's true.
At some point.
I mean, these retreads, it's like low-hanging fruit. I mean, it's like
they love it. Well, they know what they're getting. They know what they're getting. And with Jesse Chavez, you got a guy, if somebody's arm's about to fall off, he can come in middle relief and give you 6 extended innings.
But based on all these stats I just read out, it's not the pitching that's the problem.
No.
And I know they had a problem.
Oh, the hitting has been crap. And I'm just blaming it on the new hitting coach. Maybe it's the new approach that they're trying.
Well,
it's like when you get a golf lesson.
The last coach got run out of town.
I know. It's like when you
coach.
get a golf lesson and it takes you a little while on the range and maybe on the course to get comfortable with it. Maybe that's what's going on with the Braves hitters.
So who else am I leaving out? The old standby, the old Rolodex, in which Anthropoulos just says, "Okay, here we go. Let's go here. Let's go there."
Chavez. This is the 4th time that Chavez has been a Brave.
Yeah.
2021, 2022, then 2023. 2024. Oh, this will be the 5th time.
Welcome back.
So you're right.
Yeah. Welcome
You
back,
guys just
Jesse.
need those bats that the Yankees use.
The torpedoes.
Mm-hmm.
So you think they're illegal, the torpedoes?
Absolutely. Don't you? That's a lot of home runs. Andy Burcham, voice of the Auburn Tigers, apparently coming up on McElroy and Kublik in the morning.
Well, what I was going to say was you started saying something bad about the Yankees, and then Cole's voice came on.
And then Cole interjects.
Yeah. That's kind of spooky.
That is spooky.
That was very
He had his Yankees
scary.
hat on today, didn't he?
Oh, he was wearing it proud. I didn't have my Cardinal hat on.
Yeah.
I should. We're undefeated.
Too bad you got to play 158 more of them. If the season ended today, you'd be in good shape. You probably like your run differential as well. You didn't hate that, though, with the Brewers
Oh, gosh, now. Are you kidding me?
taking it on the chin.
I just wish the Diamondbacks would have done more against the Cubs. Sorry, Patrick Isbell.
Oh, is he a Cub?
Are you kidding me? It's disgusting. I'm surprised I'm friends with him, to be completely honest with you.
Don's one thing, but I had no idea. Patrick Isbell.
Yeah, Patrick Isbell, 18 South. He will have an opportunity. Him and Don can sit around Friday at the remote and talk about the Cubs.
I've got a bunch of 18 South clothes I'm going to be taking out in San Antonio. He's got an online store.
Yes, he
I'm
does.
going to get the people of San Antonio turned on to it.
Absolutely. So we will be at the Edge coming up on Friday. Landry will be in San Antonio. We'll do a split broadcast, Molly and I. So come by and see us from 10 until 2 at the Edge, right off of Green Springs, right down the hill.
We will get to your phone calls, 205-834-9450 on the text line. Let's go to Robert. He's in Greenville, listening either on Jock 740 or on the app. Hey, Robert.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Hope you are.
First of all, as you know, I'm an Alabama fan, and I like to say that it was a disappointing night Saturday against Duke, but it was a great season. I think that one of the problems that Alabama is going to have to address in all season is get more positional size, because Duke's smallest player on their whole team is 6'4", and Alabama's two smallest players were guards. You had 2 6'1" guards in Spears and Aiden Holloway, and then you had two there 6'4". And it was a really bad matchup. But I just want to praise Nate Oats for as disappointing as things have been this morning with Auburn going to the Final Four and Alabama losing the lead eight. I want to praise Nate Oats and his staff for the job that they have done with this program, making Alabama basketball nationally relevant. And I do think they're knocking on the door of something special. I mean, I go back to Florida and Billy Donovan. It took them a little while to get things going. I mean, it was, 8th or 9th year when he won back-to-back national championships at Florida.
Yes.
And I use Florida as the blueprint for schools like Alabama when it comes to basketball and winning a national championship. And I do think they're on the doorstep. And I'm just hoping they'll be able to keep some of these key players around. Cooper Flagg's a great player, but let's not forget about the Australian kid, Tyrese Proctor, as well as Con Knipple, their three-point shooter, and that big 7'2", 280-pound post player that was he didn't block hardly any shots, but he altered, affected a lot of shots. Duke, I know they made up for how bad the ACC was by playing a very tough non-conference schedule, and I think it's going to come down to Duke and Florida in the national title game. Look, I think Florida is going to beat Auburn because I don't think they got anybody they got Broom and they got the three-headed monster in the paint, but I think that Thomas Haug and Alex Condon are going to be too much for them to handle, but nobody has been able to stop Walter Clayton Jr. And Walter Clayton Jr. to me needs to get more mention for National Player of the Year. And I really think that he's going to have a lot to do. And let me say this about the Braves. I'll let you go. It's a very tough weekend, but Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be back, okay? Spencer Strider is going to be back, okay? nobody is going to run away from the NL East because the Phillies have to play the Dodgers. I think it's this sometime this month. Nobody is going to run away with this division. I mean, the Braves starting pitching is really good. I do think their bullpen, though, does concern me. And look, hitting in San Diego against that staff, that big ballpark's not easy. Had 2 home runs taken away from them the other day. That cost them 4 runs, really set a bad tone for that series. I only watched 2 of the 4 games, and it is apparent the Braves have got some things to work on. But look, they were 0-4 in 2021 and went on to win the World Series. So baseball is a very, very long season, and I just don't want folks to be disappointed in the weekend, but don't give up on the season.
Robert, do you have friends that are giving up on the season?
Well, it's just people in this state that are football-minded people that are saying that the Braves aren't going to make the playoffs. And I know one thing: they are a playoff team. It's just we've got to get Strider back, we've got to get Acuna back, but we've also got to hold our own. And I'm hoping that Jared Kelnick will get out of it. He has been a bust ever since he came from Seattle. I'm hoping De La Cruz do good. I like Profar and some of the things he did. What I don't understand is the Braves hit the cover off the ball in the preseason, and now it's gone 22 consecutive innings without scoring a run. That has to stop. But they will be back at home this weekend. Just can't give up on them. I'm not.
Yeah, Landrum, don't give up on them.
I'm not giving up on them.
It's easier said than done. But look, I'm willing. We'll see what happens in L.A. Hopefully they can at least win 2.
Yep, we got Grant Holmes going tonight, eastbound and down. Love Grant Holmes. You can hear the Braves all season. By the way, Jesse Chavez, I shorted him a year. Now the 6th time he's been with the Braves, Pat.
6 times.
6 times. First time was back in 2010 after 2 seasons with the Pirates.
The only thing I'm going to say about what he was referring to, which I've tried to remind my partner as long as we've been doing this radio show together, that it is a marathon, not a sprint. So you can look as bad as you possibly could in a 4-game series, and all it takes is a couple to get it rolling in the right direction. It's a very long season, so just because a team is in first place or a team is in last place, the first tent pole that you need to look at is obviously Memorial Day.
Well, as far as hitting the cover off the ball, I'll tell you who didn't in spring training, and that was Orlando Arcia. He had 5 hits total in spring training, and not much better was Matt Olson.
And I'm just telling you right now, because I'm a little bit older than you guys, and I have followed spring training for a very long time, and I can just tell you right now, you just do not put any stock whatsoever if somebody is doing well in spring training or someone that did poorly.
I fade the teams that are do well.
It means absolutely nothing. We finished spring training baseball last year with the best record in the entire Grapefruit League. Best record. Okay. That did not translate into a winning baseball team that made it to the playoffs last year. So, I mean, it's a 6-month long season. A lot of things can happen. Players get hurt, players come back, things of that nature. So
I remember when Jimmy Johnson took over the Cowboys and they went undefeated in the preseason and everybody got real excited. And then they went 1-15.
Trash. It means nothing. So plenty of baseball. So you can hear the Braves tonight as they try to right that ship against the Dodgers. Glasgow goes for the wonderful Dodgers.
Just an all-star team every night.
Yeah.
You get used to it.
So
let's get Ronnie back and hopefully Strider. I know that he had a Gwinnett start the other night, but oh well. You're right, Pat, and your talks have helped me in past seasons where I don't go crazy.
I mean, just to go crazy over a 4-game series, it's just,
The Marlins are leading the division right now.
I'm glad that we've got 3 wins and you can't take those away from us. So, I mean, no matter what happens from here on out, I mean, I've done screenshots so that I can share with people like Patrick Isbell and Conrad and yourself that at one point in time, the Cardinals were in first place this year.
Yep.
So,
and you're back at home if you're the Braves. You got Marlins for 3, you got the Phillies for 3, and then you're in Tampa. You got a front-loaded schedule, I guess. I don't know. If you hit like that, you're gonna struggle.
But okay, you say
all
a
season
front-loaded schedule, but that's based on what?
Based on my preseason rankings.
Okay. All right.
I think the Padres and the Dodgers will definitely be in the playoff conversation.
No, it's not like you're playing the Rockies and the A's.
No, Marlins, do I expect them to win the division? No. I think the Phillies, they'll certainly be competitive. I mean, the Mets right now. Look how much money they spent in the offseason. But that's the Mets every year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're already having people write columns in New York saying, is it buyer's remorse that they paid what they did for Juan Soto? 4 games in.
Long season.
Very long season.
We haven't even reached April.
Yes.
Remember when they used to start the season in April?
Mm-hmm. Now, see if the NBA did more of that. Did you see that over the weekend? The big fight?
Yeah, that was the Pistons, right?
Yeah. The old days of Bill Laimbeer and
Rick Mahorn.
Yeah.
The microwave.
That was good stuff back then.
John Sally.
Playing at the Silverdome.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas, hiding behind all the big trees as he was mouthing off to people.
Pat, it was a tough weekend for basketball teams in the state of Michigan.
It was. Because it looked like the Pistons got beat on the court and off the court.
Yeah, I don't know.
5 players, 2 coaches ejected.
That'll bring me back. You start doing that. You start doing that every night.
Look, what are they showing? What are they showing right now?
Bill Laimbeer.
That's right. Look at that. Knocking Charles down on his backside. Do you think Charles is going to enjoy the San Antonio women coming up this weekend?
Well, but
you think he'll buy some, I meant.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yeah.
You think he's going to buy any churros for him?
I can't do it, Charles. I don't know. Did he ever apologize to the women of San Antonio?
I don't know. He might have said something to kind of smooth it over a little bit, but I think he's doubled down and,
Well, you're bringing in 4 different fan bases. You've got Florida fans that'll be there, Auburn fans. I don't know about the Duke fan base. I've never seen Duke play basketball live, so that'll be exciting. And then a Houston fan base. But you'll have some I'm sure attractive women that will be there. Maybe they're not San Antonians. I don't know what you call
San Antonians.
What, San Antonians. Yeah.
What did you call them?
San Antonioans.
You kind of
added the O. Yeah, I didn't want to keep the O in there.
Last team.
By the way, the principal has texted the show.
And by the way, and don't forget that Houston is, I know we haven't really mentioned Houston.
No, Houston.
But Houston's one of the Final Four teams, and they're in the state of Texas, by the way. So
how far is Houston from San Antonio? Is that hour and a half, 2 hours?
Oh, no.
Long way?
No.
It just looks so close on the map.
No, trust me. It is not. Yeah, you will drive a whole day to get
No,
out of
I'm
the
thinking
state of
about
Texas.
Austin to San Antonio.
Yeah, Austin is about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. But no, Houston's a drive. No team has won a Final Four in its home state since 1975.
UCLA.
When UCLA did it. So it has been a minute.
And going back to that Auburn-Florida matchup, if Florida shoots it like they did that day in Neville Arena and Auburn is as careless with the basketball, we'll have a repeat. But right now, last check I saw, Vegas has Florida as a 2.5-point favorite.
That is correct. So if Auburn gets past the Florida Gators and then they play the Duke Blue Devils, what do you think that point spread would be?
Point spread.
Duke versus Auburn, national championship game.
7.5.
5.5.
5.5.
Woo!
Molly nailed it. If Auburn plays Houston, what's the point spread?
Even though Auburn beat them earlier in the season, Houston -2.
I was going to go Auburn -2.
Pick them.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Split the difference. Okay.
Auburn plays Duke. According to Vegas, as of this moment, it is a 5.5-point spread for the Blue Devils. If Auburn takes on Houston, it is a pick 'em. If Duke plays Florida, Duke is a 4.5-point favorite. If Florida plays Houston, the Gators are a 1-point favorite.
Boy, Houston looked good yesterday, but I don't know how much to separate from how bad Tennessee looked.
Yeah.
Was it the first jumper of the game, Tennessee, where he airballed the 10-footer?
There was a lot of that
Yeah.
really bad stuff. It was bad.
But it goes back to what Wimp Sanderson said. tournament basketball, every game takes on its own personality. Cannot transfer a team success one night against one team to another night against another team. And two great examples, if you want to go back and watch, would be Alabama after the BYU win playing Duke, and then Tennessee after cruising through their first three opponents, and then that, whatever that was. That was gross.
It was gross.
It was awful.
It was very gross. All right, more three-man front. We've got calls. We've got your text. At the bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Skip Holtz, the head coach of the Birmingham Stallions. That's all coming up next on Three-Man Front. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Skip Holtz, head coach of the Birmingham Stallions. He'll be on this program. It was a rough afternoon for the Birmingham Stallions. If you were able to watch the game, they lost to DC 18-11. Landrum and I worked with Alex Magoo a couple years ago at the quarterback position. It looks like we are going to ask Cole Kublik to work with the offensive line for the Stallions because they gave up 8 sacks yesterday. 8. Magoo may not be able to walk if you continue to not give him protection like that. Birmingham had only 138 yards of total offense. Magoo did run for 84 yards on the afternoon. Former Ole Miss quarterback Jordan Tiamu, he had 211 yards passing for DC. So the defenders knock out the Stallions 18-11. So the Stallions had 11 points at halftime, did not score any in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know what you do to. We'll ask Coach Holtz about but Magoo never had a chance.
Channel 42 asked Skip Holtz in the postgame press conference, does that mean that Matt Corral is now going to share more time at practice with Magoo? And Skip Holtz said that he was going to look at the tape and that he would make a determination. But this is a quick turnaround for the Stallions because they got home, they got not back to Birmingham, but they went back to Arlington, got back around midnight. They got today off. And then they literally have about a day or so to get their plans together. And then they play Friday night. So they're going to be back on the plane on Thursday. And then they play on Friday. So this is a very quick turnaround, playing on a Sunday, then a Friday, where there's 2 days involved with travel and a day for recovery. So.
Yeah. And also ask him about some other stuff that happened surrounding the game. That was interesting.
Yes, Shannon Harris, the interim head coach, had some interesting accusations against Skip Holtz. So we'll definitely talk about that. You saw those heavy rains come through Birmingham earlier this morning. Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018. You need to have that number on speed dial. Put it in your phone, 205-337-4018. 24-hour storm work service. That's right. Something happens overnight. They came through earlier this morning. So if you realize that you've got some downed trees in your yard because of these storms that just came through here, call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4018. A certified arborist runs this company. They've been around for 35 years. They can help you today with whatever issue you have on your property. That's Golston Tree Service. Call them at 205-337-4018.
We'll continue with, we got a few more phone calls before Coach Holtz gives us a call for his weekly visit. Let's go to Matt. He's in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Matt, what's up?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Doing well. Hope you are.
Hey, man, doing great. Hey, I just got a quick question. And I was a couple of buddies on during the Alabama game. How come, in y'all's opinion, is Nate Oats not making any adjustments as far as the defense in the paint and trying to get the coverage down? I mean, I know Duke's defense or, Duke's size may have had a little bit to do with it, but to just not just pretty much just so many easy points in the paint, why do you think that his defense did not change from the first half to the second half to try to, defend what Duke was trying to run? Love the show. I'll hang up and listen, guys.
Matt in Tuscaloosa, thank you. You're welcome to call anytime. Pat, you want to try to fill that one first?
Yeah, I mean, just based on what Nate Oats said after the game, I mean, he felt really good about their defensive game plan, but there were so many switches going on. And then when a guy doesn't take that switch, then all of a sudden it's going to leave some easy baskets. And then, of course, Alabama, they also on the offensive end, they were doing things that were not aiding themselves because they weren't getting those transition baskets and things of that nature.
Well, and that's one of those things that was so impressive about Auburn in the effort versus Michigan State, because if the game wears on, fatigue starts to set in and maybe you have a mental lapse and you don't follow your guy and you don't switch at the right time, and it could be a costly basket. But those teams like Duke, they're going to do that. Plus, they just got elite individual players that win a lot of those one-on-one matchups down in the paint. Coach Skip Holtz will join us as we continue Reaction Monday here on 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5.
It is 11:33, Jocks 94.5. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. He does this periodically on this program, and we appreciate it immensely. The head football coach of the Birmingham Stallions, Skip Holtz, joins myself and Landrum and Molly. Coach, I hope you're doing well. I know you got in really late last night from the District of Columbia.
Yeah, it was a long day. It was a frustrating day. There were, for an opening game, we learned a little bit about our team, and we've talked a lot about some of the new faces that we have and just how we're going to gel and play. And we certainly had our opportunities. There were about 40 seconds to go. We had the ball down on about the 19-yard line with the opportunity to score and just weren't able to get it done. But it was a long day. So we got in probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. But we got to get ready for a short week because really the players have today off, and then we'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday. We travel Thursday and play again on Friday. So really quick turnaround from Sunday to Friday right now.
Coach, I'm going to go knee-jerk, just fan watching game, and you can maybe go into more detail what led to this. But protection up front, first and foremost, the offensive line. I know it's early in the season. You got some new faces. But it did look like whatever play was run, at times there was just no time to operate. What were your thoughts on up front and protecting your quarterback and running that offense?
No, I would agree with you. As you go back and watch the film, there were certainly some breakdowns. There were some solid things, but for the most part, there was a lot of times that the quarterback was really scrambling. Now, I give them a lot of credit with what they did. I mean, they threw pretty much every coverage known to man, blitzes, pressures, man coverage. Greg Williams does a really good job as their defense coordinator. They threw a lot at us. And, when you look at it offensively, it takes 11 guys all pulling the rope in the same direction. And there were some of these scrambles that maybe a receiver ran the wrong route, and it kind of threw the quarterback off. So he pulled the ball down and start running. But there were some times, too, that from a protection standpoint, I probably should have done more to help the offensive line with everything that they were throwing at us. And that's what we've got to do. We lost a football game. And as I told the team, I don't mind losing a football game as long as we can learn and grow from it. What could we have done? What could I have done differently as a head coach? What plays could we have called? How could we have executed them better? I think anytime you lose a game, the first thing you got to do is you got to sit down and you got to look at what can we learn from it? How can we improve and how can we get better? Because this season that we're going to go through, this 10-week season that we're going to go through, it's not always about just where you start. It's about continuing to prove as the year goes on. And the team that's going to win it is going to be the team that's playing at the best at the end of the year. And so we've just got to get a lot of these things cleaned up and look at some of the things that maybe I could have done to help the offensive line and some of the things that we could have done maybe to help ourselves fundamentally. So a lot to look at, a lot to learn from, and a lot to grow from.
Well, I know you were asked this in the post-game press conference, and listen, we're not trying to start a quarterback controversy. I just want to ask you the same question that you were asked after the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Because of the results of the game, and then once you look at film, would this be an opportunity for Matt Corral to get more work at practice as you do have this short week getting ready for a Friday night game?
Yeah, we went through, and what I didn't want to do, I don't want to knee jerk. All right, I don't want the quarterbacks like, golly, I made a mistake. Get the hook, pull them out. Well, we went through 30 days of camp. Alex did a better job of protecting the football and playing in the offense, and that's one of the reasons that we went with them. I've said this before. I think Matt is a very good quarterback. He's extremely accurate with the ball. He's doing some great things, and I'm not opposed to playing him. I just got into that game, and we got into the flow of it. I didn't want to get into a 2-quarterback system and, okay, you go this series, with all the doubt. So I thought about it during the course of the game and made the decision to stay with Alex. And right now we'll get into this week of practice, short week. It's hard to say, okay, we're changing quarterbacks after 1 week. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I don't think it's time to say everything's broke. I mean, this was a game that, like I said, with 43 seconds to go, we needed 18 yards for the win. And so it's not like, golly, we just got beat 32-0 and everything was broke. We will definitely, Matt will play this season. I think Matt is a very talented quarterback, and they will both play. And I'm sit down and look at the film, and we'll watch it with the players, and we'll go from here. But yeah, I did not feel like in the middle of that game that was the answer. I think if anything, when I look at how much Alex's feet helped us move the ball as an offense with some of the breakdowns, I thought it was extremely helpful. So it's easy to hindsight and look back in 2020, and when you look at the results, say, well, we should have done this. I agree. There's a lot of things that I watched the film this morning. I'm mad at myself. Changing quarterbacks wasn't top on the list.
And Coach Skip Holtz, Birmingham Stallions, joining us on Three Man Front. All of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Again, Coach, not hitting the panic button, everything that you just told us, but without you going into it specifically and citing positions or personnel, where this roster makeup and coming into the season, would you say that there have been more inherent challenges? I don't want to use the word deficiencies heading into a season, or is it just one of those deals where every season is different and every roster kind of makes up his own personality?
No, I still like our roster. I think this was when you only have 30 days to put your team together and practice, and you play probably one of the most complicated defenses in our league. I said Greg Williams has been a defense coordinator in the NFL for 20-some years. He knows a lot of football, and he threw an awful lot at us, and we didn't handle it as efficiently as I would like. But hopefully, we can grow from this and move on. I'm not in a position right now where I'm saying, "Golly, it's we don't have any talent. Our players aren't together." I mean, I certainly don't feel it was that. I think when you look at offense, and this is where you've always heard everybody talks about the defenses are always ahead of the offenses early. Because they can it takes 11 guys pulling the rope in the same direction, and we just were not very efficient. And I take responsibility for that as the head coach, but we've got to become more efficient, not just in operating our offense, but in being able to operate our offense under pressure. And so, no, I don't feel, defensively, I thought we did some good things, maybe a couple plays I would have liked to see us make defensively. But, when you hold your opponent to 18 points, I mean, I look at it and say offensively, we should be able to score 20 points in a football game. And you know what? We weren't able to do it together as a team. And like I said, it's not time to panic. It's not time to hit the button yet. I mean, it's just time to take some things, improve from it. I said this a minute ago, if you lose a game, I don't mind losing a game as long as we can learn and grow from it. And like I said, there's plenty to learn and grow from this game. Tough draw, tough defense. They did a really good job. They're a very talented team, and we just weren't able to get it done right there at the end.
Skip Holtz, the head football coach of the Birmingham Stallions, joins us here on Three Man Front, talking about yesterday's season opener in D.C., losing to the Defenders 18-11. We've been talking about the offense, but I know it's early because you still got to look at the film and other things. But your overall impressions about the defense that gave up under 300 yards against Jordan Tiamu in that offense, just your thoughts on the defensive side.
No, I thought there were some good things I really liked. I think we had 4 linebackers all played, where a year ago we pretty much played with 2, and they went the whole time. We played 4 linebackers. I thought the linebackers played very well. I thought we played really stout inside with our defensive tackles. We were probably a little bit undisciplined. I think we had 4 offsides penalties, 2 of them on third down, critical third downs that would have helped us get off the field. And overall, one of the things that we've done a really good job of so far in these leagues is being really minimizing our penalties. Well, yesterday, 10 penalties for 71 yards certainly didn't help our cause. But I thought defensively, we didn't give up the big play touchdowns. We only let them in the end zone 1 time, forced them to kick 4 field goals. One of them was a 50-some yarder. I thought defensively we played solid. You know what I mean? We didn't have a lot of sacks. They really didn't. They ran a lot of RPOs and things like that. It wasn't really a big drop back game, but I thought they played really solid. I think we tried to be not too complicated, keep the ball in front of us, rally, tackle, and I thought they did. An experienced quarterback did a really nice job for them, trying to keeping the ball away from us and execute when they had to. But I thought defensively it was solid. It certainly wasn't spectacular or special, but for an opening game, it was certainly, I'm encouraged, and something I definitely feel like we can build on.
All right, Coach, we got to be responsible in asking you what transpired during the post-game handshake that had DC Defenders head coach Shannon Harris so upset?
I don't know. I mean, I wish I could tell you. You know what? It's an emotional game, and he was very upset. And you know what? I mean, it's like I respect him. I respect their team. They've got a good team. They played a good game. You know what? Congratulate them. They made the plays that they needed to on the field. I thought they had a good game plan on offense and defense, and I don't know. I wish I could tell you more about what that was all about, but I got to worry about some of the issues that we got to fix right now on our team. You know what I mean? And trying to put it together.
Well, on a side note, you do look good there on the sideline. You've dropped some weight. It looked like.
I have lost a little weight. I appreciate you noticing.
Yeah, it looks good.
Still got a little bit more to go, but trying to stay in shape. I guess when you hit that 61st birthday, you know the roller coaster's about to pull into the station. So I figured I might as well lose some weight and see if I can help myself have the ride last a little bit longer.
Well, Coach, I was going to ask you. You were talking about the quick turnaround, and I just find that fascinating because obviously with the changing of the days of the week now that the UFL is attempting to play on and going from a Sunday and you get in late, you got recovery and rest today, then you're trying to formulate a game plan as you get ready, then you got to be back on the road traveling again to Michigan. Have you ever gone through this quick of a turnaround before in your coaching history?
No, I have not. I have never gone Sunday to Friday, and it's a quick turnaround. We're meeting about it as a staff this afternoon because it's not just a quick turnaround. With you can say, okay, the players have off today, and then tomorrow's going to be a practice day, but how much can you do at practice? You're still 48 hours away from playing a football game when they got in at 3:00 in the morning. So how much can you really tax them and run them? We've got some guys that obviously are going to be in treatment and are a little bit beat up. So you're going to be limited with how much you can practice Tuesday. And then Wednesday is almost like just your polish day. And then Thursday's a travel day and Friday's the game. So it's going to be a quick turnaround. And we not only have to be really smart with what we do from a game plan standpoint, because of how much we're going to be able to practice it, but we really got to be smart with what we're doing with them physically, that we don't make sure that we're trying to do too much in too short a time and start to wear them down. Because the one thing you'd like for your players to be fresh. I mean, I make that comment, how do you keep them fresh when you get in so late and then have such a quick turnaround? But that's the challenge that we have this week, and going to play a really good Michigan team who had a big win first week, and they've done a really nice job. And again, those were 3 battles last year that we had with them that came down. Most of those games came down to the last play of the game. And so we know it's going to be a tough challenge for us, but this is what the task we're given, and this is what we have to do. And there's no sense in complaining about it. We just have to find a way to make it work.
Go take care of business. Stallions taking on the Panthers this Friday night. Stallions a slight favorite at -1.5, according to Vegas. Right now, the game will be televised on Fox coming up this Friday. Coach, giddy up. Thanks for taking time to join us, and we're not hitting the panic button. We believe.
No, not yet. Not yet. The thing, and here's the thing. I mean, you get into college football and you lose your season opener, and it's woe is me. How are we going to get to the playoffs? What we got to do is we just got to keep getting better, play each week, and become the best football team we can. Hopefully we can get in the top 2 in our division and get into the playoffs. And once you get to that point, if you can be playing your best football at the end of the year, then you've got a chance. And that's really what we're trying to fight for right now, is just trying to put this thing together and get a little bit better every week. So I appreciate y'all, appreciate the time, and look forward to talking to you again next week.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you. Good luck on Friday. Giddy up.
All right, giddy up, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Birmingham Stallions head coach Skip Holtz on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
You can't ignore those problems around your house. I'm talking about cracks of your foundation, or you notice some cracks in your sheetrock of your house. That's where APS comes in at 205-951-9717. They're going to send one of their trained professionals out to your house. They're going to give you a free estimate. They're going to take a look and provide you with a plan moving forward of how they can fix your home immediately. That team will come out. They really know their stuff. They'll inspect everything. They'll clarify the problem and the issues that you have and offer solutions that are tailored to your home. No pressure, just honest advice there at APS. 205-951-9717. They can fix your foundation. They can tackle the sinking driveway with the poly-level system. They can encapsulate your crawl space. They can do it all there at APS. Call them today, 205-951-9717 or alabamaprofessional.com.
Plenty of texts on Reaction Monday as to what happened in college basketball this past weekend. 205-834-9450. We'll get some of your texts next on Reaction Monday. 3-man front, and you're home for college basketball, Final Fours, college football, well, just everything. Jock 94.5. Reaction Monday here on 3-Man Front. Landrum, Pat, and Molly. We do have basketball coming up today. Molly, there's still games going on. It's the college basketball crown.
Go Big Red.
First round. Utah taking on Butler, 2 o'clock on FS1. George Washington and Boise State, 4:30 on FS1. Nebraska taking on Bobby Hurley and the Fighting Sun Devils of Arizona State, 7:30. Also on FS1, and Washington State takes on Georgetown in the nightcap that I will not be available for. I might be available, but I'm not going to be watching that game. I'll go ahead and tell you. So don't ask me for anything Washington State or Georgetown tomorrow.
Are you going to watch Nebraska?
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, partly because if they play bad,
well,
that's content for
then
tomorrow's show.
Then you can rub it in.
Yeah.
Well, if you need some place to catch the Crown Tournament or the Final Four, you can catch it all at Big Whiskey's. They have several big screens in the bar with unique cocktails and over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap. On tournament game days this March, you can get $6 select appetizers, $2 domestics, and $3 craft beer. So you can go, maybe not today, but you can go out and enjoy the outdoor patio and the game area. It's great for families, and the kids eat free on Tuesday. So in the Stadium Trace Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
So your Nebraska Cornhuskers, they have the third best odds of winning the Crown tournament. That would be a cool $300,000 to your NIL.
We'll take it.
Crown tournament, bowl game win.
Molly's donation.
Oh, yeah. I give a lot every month.
What's next? And things are looking up there in Lincoln.
They are.
Kugler told me off the air that he's right behind you because he gets this alumni breakdown.
Yeah.
And that you give a little bit more than he does to Nebraska. So
I'm up there with Warren Buffett.
He ought to be ashamed of himself.
Wow.
If he's not stroking the check that Molly just finds in her couch cushions every single month to try to get back to Big Red. Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Interesting text. We lead off with our buddy Tim, who's a big Auburn fan. He said, hey, guys, I just wanted to see if y'all heard about the investigation that's underway by the NCAA concerning the Bama versus Duke game. Apparently, the NCAA has information that Duke cheated. The allegations are that Duke opened up a can before the game ever tipped off. Thank you, Tim. Man, there's some venom out there today. This is not one. Auburn paid the state of Michigan back for sending them Peyton Thorne.
That's good.
That's really good.
It is good. Ken says, curious how you guys would reseed the Final Four. I've got Duke 1, Florida 2, Houston 3, and Auburn 4.
No, I would not have Auburn 4.
No, I would probably have Auburn 3.
2 or 3.
And the reason why, you could justify Duke and Florida because they beat Auburn in head-to-heads. But Auburn beat Houston. They're in Houston at the beginning of the season. And that was, I think, when Auburn fans and the rest of the college basketball world realized that Tahad Pettiford had a chance to be special this year when he went off and took over in that game. Drake, big Florida fan, says, I would not want to play Houston. No, I wouldn't either. At this point, everybody's playing well. Mark says the 3 previous opponents for the Tide played terrible perimeter defense. Duke plays good defense, and the result was a skull dragging by Duke. You weren't wrong. Dwayne says, bold prediction, Mark Sears will be the best insurance agent in Muscle Shoals this time next year. Come on. Mark Sears, he's going to play professional basketball. Make a lot of money.
Mark Sears.
But maybe he goes into insurance later. He can make a good living doing that too.
Mark Sears finished his career with the second most points in the history of Alabama basketball.
I just watched the turnover. That was an ill-advised pass. Sorry, they're playing highlights from Duke highlights.
Reggie King had 2,168 points. Mark Sears just 50 points shy of 2,000 points in his Alabama career. Eddie Phillips is third. Leon Douglas was fourth. And Trevor Relaford is fifth all time. Do you realize that?
Ooh.
Come on a bar bet on that one.
Yeah. Never would have had Relaford.
Yep. I got a feeling that a lot of these records are never going to be broken because so many people change teams so often. So if you get a record at one of your schools, man, it's probably going to stand for a long time.
We'll continue to recap the weekend, preview the week ahead with the Final Four.
It is 12 o'clock. Welcome back in. It's three-man front on this Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX. A historic weekend in the state of Alabama basketball-wise. The Auburn Tigers, they punched their ticket to San Antonio, Texas. Their second Final Four all-time. We will kind of review that. Also, what happened to Alabama against Duke as their season came to a close. At 12:30, we're going to talk to Mike Rodak of Bama 247. He was in Newark. We'll kind of put a bow on the Alabama basketball season. Already a lot of rumors going around of who's coming back, who Alabama wants back from a roster standpoint, and some transfer portal guys are supposedly in Tuscaloosa today on official visit. So we'll talk to Mike about that. But we got to start with what happened as the Auburn Tigers in Atlanta. It was a heavy partisan crowd there at State Farm Arena, which it should be only about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes away from the Auburn campus. And Auburn, this game was, at one point, it was 8-8. And then after that, it was
pretty much 23-8.
Yeah, then it was over. So the big run that Auburn had, Janai Broom double-double at halftime. He ends up with 25 points, 14 rebounds, a little bit of scare there in the second half with his elbow. He went over to the locker room. He came back. Pearl put him back in. What did he do? He had a three-pointer, and the rest is history.
Was that not just a prototypical, if you were going to stereotype Michigan State, but that's Michigan State, whether it's Kohler, whether it's Fiddler, whether it's their guards and Richardson and Akins and just how they play. But you kept waiting. Is Michigan State going to be able to make that run to make this close? And for Auburn, who has started slow, you can make the argument, maybe they didn't start slow against Creighton. Creighton was just on fire. But starting slow against Michigan, starting slow against Alabama State, but besides falling down 8-6 early in that game and then going on the 17-0 run and leading 23-8, that was pretty much a wire-to-wire game. Michigan State led that game for all of 22 seconds. That's pretty solid against that Michigan State squad. And for Auburn to maintain their defensive intensity with having guys in foul trouble, Janai Broom having to go out and taking away some of the guys that had been your production. For that Auburn team to do that was big. And to do it in front of the crowd, which helped them, and I'm sure Michigan State bothered them a little bit. It's got to.
Yeah.
12,000 Auburn fans.
Held the Spartans to 34% shooting, including 30% from the outside. Bruce Pearl hands Tom Izzo his first ever loss to an SEC opponent in the Big Dance. He was 10-0 before Auburn was able to take him out. Here's Bruce Pearl on the importance of getting this team back to the Final Four.
I guess the first thought is there are 4 teams in the country that are left, and Auburn is one of them. And so we couldn't be happier. I want to congratulate Michigan State on an incredible year. We saw them in Maui, and they were good. But I don't know that when we saw them in Maui that you'd look at that team and say, hey, they're going to go 17-3 in the Big Ten. And they did. The Big Ten was good. And I thought Tom and I talked before the games. Our teams kind of mirrored each other in many ways. The way we defended, how hard we play, the way we try to, dominate the backboard, so on and so forth. But I felt going in that we were better. I felt like I had better players, and I felt like we, and that's not a criticism at all. I told our guys right now, we haven't beaten a team yet that I thought was better than us. And that's why we're the overall number 1 seed. And now we're going to the Final Four where there are 4 1 seeds. And I think the 4 teams that are advanced, I think they're the 4 best teams in the country. That doesn't obviously always happen. So
Auburn is now 32-5. That's a school and state Division I record for victories in a single season. One more than Alabama's 2023 team. Tigers now tied for the 13th most victories in a season in SEC basketball history. The only other SEC programs that have won at least 32 games in a season are Arkansas, Florida, and Kentucky. And talk about the resurgence of both Alabama and Auburn's program. Think about this stat, and this is courtesy of Kevin Skarbinski because he came up with this, and this is pretty incredible. Total victories since Nate Oats got to Alabama. Bruce Pearl and Auburn has 146 victories since Nate Oats came to Tuscaloosa. Nate Oats and Alabama, they have won 145 games. So Bruce Pearl and Auburn, 146 wins since Nate Oats has been there. Nate Oats in Alabama, 145. And now we have back-to-back years of Alabama and Auburn going to the Final Four.
Well, we had this string of national championships in football and making an appearance. So maybe we start that streak with college basketball.
Final Fours.
Yeah. I was convinced growing up that we would never see a team from the state in the Final Four. It would just never happen.
It was looking that way.
Yeah.
It was looking that way.
Or you'd have teams that would get close, but it was all those blue bloods, whether you ran up against a Coach K or a Roy Williams team or
all those
Tom
really
Izzo
good wimp teams. It was just like, oh my gosh, if those teams can't get to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, then we're just not going to have one. And then you had Auburn in 99 when Porter, when that team,
but you think about the path that has to be carved out to make a national, not only winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the path that has to be carved where you have a potential opponent that you match up with terribly. But that opponent has to play another opponent that they match up with terribly. And it's just interesting year to year. But now with the 1 seeds, and I agree with Bruce Pearl, I think the top 4 teams, from what we've seen consistently over the course of the season, they're all going to be represented there in San Antonio.
All right, so I was reading the Houston Chronicle this morning, and they were talking about the Houston Cougars making it to the Final Four. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you can educate us on this. Because you and your wife are heading to San Antonio on Wednesday. You'll be there covering it for Jocks 94.5. And the Houston Chronicle is reporting that the cheapest tickets for the entire Final Four package were listed for $650 for a spot in the upper deck behind the basket in the Alamo Dome. Tickets for Saturday's games are available for as cheap as $300. The cheapest ticket for the championship game is listed at $170. I know you've had some friends and you've checked on some things, some prices. Does that seem about right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it was right after the game where you had I had a cousin he's an Auburn fan. He bought his Final Four tickets December 27th. So he had tickets and he was going to unload them if Auburn didn't make it. Now they're actually driving to San
Antonio. So he was thinking ahead.
Yeah, he was thinking ahead. But for other friends and people that I know that were looking for tickets, and I was on a couple of the different sites last night. No, $650 for 1 ticket to cover your Saturday and then cover the single game on Monday. As someone who was fortunate enough to cover the Final Four back in 2019 in Minneapolis, there's a lot more buzz around that Saturday game. Monday, I know it's a national title game, but it's kind of an afterthought. But no, that's right. You're going to be in the upper deck of the Alamo Dome behind the basket for $650. But you get to watch 2 games, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you get to watch the game on Monday. Now, you could have gotten out for around $779 for 2 tickets for the 2 games on Saturday. I showed you one of the seat views. Wasn't bad, but
no, not at all.
You're not getting in there and getting normally like, hey, this is a good seat at Coleman or at Legacy or at Neville. You're not getting one of those for under $2,000 each. And some people, they got the money, they want to spend it. But the Final Four is just the event surrounding the event with everybody kind of coming together. And I have a feeling that San Antonio will be more fun than it was in Minneapolis. Minneapolis, it was still kind of chilly. It's going to hit 90 in San Antonio with sun this week. Bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm not packing anything but shorts and roller skates.
Meanwhile, you've got TCU in Texas, and the women's, they play here in Birmingham. I saw where the South Carolina game drew about 11,000 down at the BJCC Legacy Arena. So hope everyone has enjoyed their time here in the Magic City.
I'm sure they have. We always do a great job of hosting events.
I mean, we don't have a river downtown like San Antonio does.
No. Some good Tex-Mex, though.
Yes. Social Taco. We'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
10 until 2.
Yeah. San Antonio doesn't have Vulcan.
That's right. They do have the Tower of Americas. Hope you'll get a chance to ride to the top of that.
Yeah. So I just ride to the top?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can see up there in particular?
It's a great view of the.
Can I see New Mexico?
The state of New Mexico?
Yes.
Or northern Mexico?
Both. Depending on which side of the tower I'm standing on.
You might see Austin.
I wish they incorporated where they had like a deal. Like a ride at the top. Like an attraction.
Oh, you mean kind of like, what is the roller coaster in Vegas?
Oh, is that
it's like the Stratosphere.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, they had the Stratosphere, but there's the other one, and I don't know if this is in Vegas, but it's on the tall building out there. You get into, it's 4 cars, like a roller coaster.
And it's like they're going to drop
4 cars.
you.
Yeah, and you get onto it, you load onto it, and then it tilts forward, and then you go forward, and then you abruptly stop, but you're hanging off the side of the building.
Yeah.
That's in Vegas,
I'd
too.
want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Stratosphere, that is very similar to the Tower of America. Tower of America is a little bit taller than that one in Las Vegas, but they don't have a roller coaster on top of it.
Okay. Well, I'll go up there.
Yeah.
Seen the Alamo. We checked out. She's seen the Alamo. She did that as a kid. So
she checked that box.
Yes, and we still remember the Alamo.
When I lived there and we'd have relatives come visit us, that was Alamo, Riverwalk.
I did it up at the Alamo tour. I had the audio headset with the tablet. Yeah, I was that guy. I'm going to take my time.
I could see that.
So speaking of the women's basketball tournament, so Kim Mulkey loses yesterday. And the story of the game was what took place after her team lost to UCLA. Take a listen to this interaction she had with a young man I think he works for a TV station down in Louisiana. This is what it sounded like yesterday after the loss.
Coach, it's the second straight year you guys get eliminated in the Elite Eight. Yeah.
Terrible or is that good?
Terrible.
How many Final Fours you play in?
None.
So it's probably pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
So if you could hear the very beginning of it, her response was, I guess that's not very good, is it? And then his response is what got me, is when he said, no, it's not. And then she came back with her quip of, well, how many Final Fours have you been to?
She's spicy. Oh, Kim.
Mm-hmm. Did you see her outfit?
Yeah. And it may be, I don't know. I know that the state of Mississippi's state flower is the magnolia. Is the magnolia Louisiana's state flower as well? I was kind of confused why she was wearing a magnolia on her jacket.
It is yes.
So Louisiana and Mississippi, both.
That's correct.
How about that? I did not know that. I learned something
I didn't know
today.
that either.
Get your own flower.
I wonder who had it first.
I had a magnolia tree in the front when I moved into my house. But the leaves were so bad. I cut it down. One of my neighbors complained.
You called Golston Tree Service?
That was before Golston Tree Service. They probably would have done a better job. I know they would have than the company that I had that cut it down. There's a whole nother story there. We'll save that for the podcast. It was a nightmare. But not with Golston. By the way, did he? I need to get the other thing limbed up.
He's ready.
Okay.
I mean, he's come by your house. He's giving you an assessment.
All right. We'll continue with your text, 205-834-9450. Mark says Kim Mulkey is trailer park trash. Oh,
Jeepers.
Come on now. She's a competitor.
Landrum has always been very fond of her coaching ability.
I have been. Like this, she's got her own sense of style. I don't hate on the style.
I like her outfits.
No, she can pull it off. She's the style, would you call it, very Liberace?
Her Sweet 16 outfit was the Michael Jackson looking one. I don't know if
What
you
was
saw
the
on
one?
Twitter.
Was it in the early rounds where like she was all denim?
Maybe. Oh yeah, Canadian tuxedo.
I didn't see that.
I thought it was one of the early rounds this year. It might have been a previous year.
Kim Mulkey, all denim.
See, the one I was thinking of was this black and gold one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good look. Those are all custom made. You're not going to find those.
No, they
in a boutique.
She did an
right?
interview, and I think the person that is her designer and
how many times a year does her designer go to market to find stuff for Kim?
So you mean like she's like going to Hancock Fabrics, coming up with some?
And has she ever worn the same outfit twice?
Ooh.
Would that be frowned upon?
Well, no, but that's just a lot of clothes, a lot of custom clothes.
Connor reminds us that Charles Barkley has a great take on San Antonio women.
Mm-hmm. Yep, says they're all fat.
Posey reminds us San Antonio doesn't have Village Creek. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
This one reads, what does Bruce Pearl have to do to rename Neville Arena after him?
I would say, I mean, he's probably in line for plenty of accolades there, but if you cut the nets down and win the national championship in San Antonio, I think that would probably be done pretty quick.
And the Nevilles, who, the reason their namesake's on it, I think they donated like $40 million. Maybe they wouldn't have a problem with it.
You know who the big winner of all this is? Think about it. Under Armour.
Yeah.
The last year of their contract with Auburn, Auburn becomes a Nike school as soon as this spring semester is over with. And they are going to milk this all the way into the Final Four. Because everybody else is a Nike school.
If they did rename the arena, though, I mean, that would playing at the, we got the hump. Playing at the Pearl?
I like that.
I like it. Pearl Arena.
The jungle at Bruce Pearl Arena.
The Pearl in the Jungle.
The Pearl in the Jungle. Ken sends this in. Duke's freshmen combined to play 430 minutes this season. The combined total minutes for the three other teams in the Final Four is 160. Duke's got a lot of talented guys. Some of them just happen to be freshmen. I'm at the University of Houston. If you want any insight on the Cougars, let me know.
Thanks for listening. Appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Biggest weakness in Auburn is a propensity to go through bad shot spurts and getting away from what's working. Yeah, that happened a couple of times yesterday. Just like Milroe, Bama will be better without Sears. It's been a long time since Bama looked intimidated by another team. They looked intimidated versus Duke. Jerry from Hayden, I guess this was after Don Don's call. That's why I hate the Barners. They're fans. Go Gators, RTR for life. The number 4. Trip wants to know, Pat, any afternoon baseball games to play today?
I'll be honest with you. I have not ventured into the world of Major League Baseball yet.
It's coming, though.
Oh, there's no doubt it'll be coming.
Distance from San Antonio to what were we trying to figure out?
Houston?
Houston, 3 hard hours from Houston.
That's with tolls.
Gavin says Charles Barkley did apologize, but has continuously kept poking at the women of San Antonio. Pat lived there. He said that everybody there is just beautiful. We'll continue with your text as we roll on. 205-834-9450. 12:23 Reaction Monday. We got Mike Rodak covers the Crimson Tide. We'll put a bow on Nate Oats and the Tide's season as they reach the Elite Eight, but it comes to an end against a very good Duke team, and a Duke team that some people have seeded as the top overall seed of the Final Four if you were to reseed all of the teams. So Mike, coming up in just a little bit, how about Mandu in downtown Homewood? Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. Now that we are getting into the warmer weather, that means less clothes, and that means potentially more of you that people want to see. You want to make sure that you're in great shape. Mandu can do that, but the great thing about Mandu, the electrical muscle stimulation fitness, FDA approved because of the technology. When they put you in that suit, they hook you up to a machine. You go through a 15-minute workout. It's the equivalent to 6 to 8 hours in a gym. Yeah, that's right. 15-minute workout, revolutionary approach for busy people just like you. And it works. I've gotten results, and a lot of my friends that have taken me up on it, a lot of our Great Jocks listeners that have taken me up on it, not had one person that tried it, signed up for it, actively participated in it, that didn't get results. It's not going to happen. Mandu in downtown Homewood, MANDUU.com. Make sure you tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
So Alabama loses to Duke. They are knocked out of the Elite Eight. No back-to-back Final Fours this year. Here is Nate Oats on the challenge of preparing your team after winning a game and then having only one day, especially when you're going up against Duke.
You know, it's hard. You got the one-day prep. You know, I thought we did a good job as a coaching staff of getting our guys ready for all different coverages, but you kind of do that all summer and fall, and then as you go into a game, you target how they're going to guard you, and then you prep for the 2 or 3 days going in. Well, you don't have 2 or 3 days going in. You got a walkthrough that you don't go live yesterday, so it's hard to prep for them. We still got some decent looks from three, and we just didn't hit them. They shot 6 of 13. We shot 8 of 32. So we shot 25% from three. Is that good enough to beat Duke if you do everything else at an elite level? And we didn't do everything else at an elite level. We didn't finish at the paint. We didn't get to the old boards well enough. We had too many turnovers. We had 3 turnovers before the first media timeout, which dug us a huge hole right out of the gate. Our defense wasn't where it needed to be in the first 4 minutes, and we turned the ball over 3 times. So, we dug ourselves a hole early, gave ourselves some adversity we had to face. I thought we did a decent job fighting back, but they're too good a team to dig yourselves a big hole.
And I agree with a lot of what he just said. I don't think Nate Oats was making excuses. Some people will take it that way. I don't know the exact question that it was asked, but probably similar to ones that we've asked some of our guests, including Coach Wimp Sanderson, about recovery, rest, recovery, and getting ready. But from going from that BYU team, Pat, that Alabama dominated, to going to Duke, that would be maybe the equivalent of, God rest his soul, facing a Tim Wakefield knuckleball and then coming back in your next at bat and facing Nolan Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Just from, everything. Better players, how they play defense, how they defend the perimeter, how they shoot the ball, all of that. So I think a lot of what Nate Oats said, it made it especially challenging for Alabama.
Nate Oats was asked about putting this season in perspective. This is what he had to say.
Through the course of the year, we lost some tough ones. I didn't do a good job with our end-of-game situation at Tennessee. We win that. Maybe things are different. We lost a 2 to Florida. If you're a 1 seed instead of a 2 seed, you don't play Duke. Duke's going to be a 1 seed. You got somebody else in the Elite Eight. So you kind of look to some stuff. Could you have done things better? We lost a home game to Ole Miss. They're a good team, but we should have never lost a home game to Ole Miss. So, even if you win the home game against Ole Miss, I don't mess up the end of the game against Tennessee. Maybe you're still a 1 seed even with those 2 losses to Florida, and you're playing somebody else in the Elite Eight. So there's a lot of things you can look to that I got to do a better job as a head coach, and I will do a better job moving forward, that we got to, continue to recruit guys that fit our system and adapt when things happen, and do better in the regular season to give yourself a better chance with a better seed. Now we went to a Final Four as a 4 seed last year. We had a chance as a 2, but it's certainly a lot better.
That was Nate Oats detailing some of the issues they had during the season, and I could not agree more. Had no business losing to Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss is a good team, but that game, they were very lethargic just came out, and you could tell that Ole Miss wanted the game more than Alabama in Coleman Coliseum, which that was kind of surprising. The Tennessee game, that was 100% on Nate Oats. That was not the players. That was on Nate Oats. He did one of probably, I would say, one of the poorest jobs in his tenure at Alabama of coaching a game. That was just that was his fault. It was on him for them losing that game on Rocky Top. But the Florida is just a juggernaut right now. I mean, with that basketball team, not making excuses, you should have held serve. You should have at least beat them in Coleman Coliseum. Losing on the road in Nashville, that goes without saying. You can kind of excuse that. So it was an interesting perspective from Nate Oats on what took place this year. Mark Sears, his star player, All-American at the University of Alabama, finished his second all-time in scoring at the University of Alabama, had a rough night. He was 2 of 12 shooting, 1 of 5 from deep, 1 of 3 from the free throw line. Free throw line is typically somewhere where you can go ahead and mark it down, but he finished the game with only 6 points. This is what Mark Sears had to say after the game when asked about his career at Alabama.
I'm just, I'm just blessed to be able to play for the University of Alabama, especially being from the state of Alabama. Even though this season didn't go the way we wanted it to, I'm just very thankful that I got the chance to play for Coach Oats and the University of Alabama.
That is Mark Sears. When we come back on three-man front, Mike Rodak. He was in Newark. He witnessed Alabama's season coming to an end against Duke. We will talk to Mike about roster management of this basketball team, where it goes from here. This is three-man front on this Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. 12:35, Jackson 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. Auburn heading to San Antonio, Texas later this week. Unfortunately for Alabama fans, the basketballs are put up, but that just means that there's opportunities. Roster management becomes an even bigger storyline in the offseason, and it's already underway down in Tuscaloosa. Joining us now, fresh off his lovely trip to Newark, New Jersey, Bama 247. That was the old name, Bama 247. Get that right, Mike. Part of the 247 network. Mike Rodak joins us here on Three Man Front. Hey, Mike.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Did you do anything fun over the weekend?
Does Newark still have pollution?
I mean, visually, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not the most aesthetically pleasing city in the world. Which I've been to New Jersey a bunch. Cover games in MetLife, Jets and Giants, but it's actually my first time in downtown Newark. There's the arena, and then there's not a lot else. But we actually went into we went into New York City, which I think is kind of the main appeal of the whole regional. It's a 20-25 minute train ride, whatever it is. So I'm sure that kind of helped the NCAA make their decision, is that you have Manhattan within reach, and it's not just about Newark.
All right, so it goes without saying, they were playing the number 1 seed Duke. I knew that it was going to be an uphill battle for this Alabama team, even if Alabama shot the lights out like it did against BYU. But just kind of take us back, any kind of a feeling before the game or any type of indication that Alabama just was not up for the task, or at least making this a game in the late part of the second half?
No, I mean, I thought Nate was pretty upbeat, pretty positive, before the game when he talked. And, that might have been strategic in his part, he likes to use the term like pump guys full of confidence. I think that's probably a game where you need to do that. But I think he felt pretty good about his plan and what his team was capable of doing. I think that it wasn't a David versus Goliath sort of matchup, which, it's still Duke. Like, they're still the more talented roster. You have a number 1 overall pick. It's a better team. I think everybody saw that even before the game, but I think Nate thought his guys could really compete. And, it was different things at different points of that game. I thought the first 5 to 8 minutes of the game, the defense was obviously pretty problematic. You leave open a couple shooters, and Duke scoring, I think it was like 1.6, 1.7 points per possession, pretty early on. And then I felt like the defense settled in. I thought Grant Nelson did a pretty good job against Cooper Flagg. And then it was the offense that just never really could get clicking. Obviously, then you had that 5 or 6 minute stretch, later in the second half where it just went completely stagnant. So it was different things. I don't know if it was just the shooting, and that's obviously been, kind of the big storyline is like, can Alabama win if they don't shoot the three? And the answer, I think, all year has been yes, they could, and they have. And this was a game where I think there's opportunities, even though they were shooting 25%, to get other things done. And just those things just didn't really come together well enough. And I think part of that is just because Duke is so good, and especially what they're able to do protecting the rim with a 7-2 guy is pretty rare.
What do you think Nate Oats is looking for in particular? You got different needs, but first and foremost, if he wants to make another run next year with Alabama, what type of player do they need the most?
Yeah, I mean, it is different things. I think that answer probably depends partly on LeBaron Philon's decision, because if Philon, if you can get him back, and right now it seems like he's borderline first round, and some of the projections with him are all over the map. And there's some people have him as a lottery pick, or some people have him in the middle of the second round. And if you're in the middle of the second round, I think there's a lot of wisdom in coming back. And if they can get him back, then that kind of solves that need to have that ball handler, that guard that you're already kind of losing in Mark Sears as well. So if you get him back, I think that the need is more in the front court. And I think rim protection, replacing what you're losing in Cliff Amore, is going to be important. They are hosting the 7-footer today from Bucknell, Noah Williamson, that I think would certainly, be a good fit for that role. But if you lose Philon, then I think you need guards, and especially if you lose a Terrell Wrightsell on top of that, which, as he kind of hinted at last week, seems like a possibility. So it's going to be dependent on what exactly happens for them in terms of the draft, which is mainly Phylon, and then the portal, which guys leave. But you need shooters and you need rim protection, and that's a big part of what they try to do offensively and defensively. So you kind of need both, and I think which one is more, we'll have to see.
All right, I want to go back to something you just said. So there's a thought out there that Reitzel might not be back. Is that correct, or just leaving options open?
It certainly, he left that option open when he was speaking in the locker room. I wasn't there personally, but there's, multiple reporters in there that spoke to him, last week in Newark, or actually I think it was in Cleveland, and basically said, I'm going to have to make a business decision for his last year of eligibility, his 6th year of eligibility. He gets the medical red shirt, and, obviously is coming off of an injury, but he essentially said in those quotes that he came back this past season because he wanted to make another run with Sears and Nelson and kind of see where that went. But now those guys are going to be gone. And I think he said it's going to be a harder decision for him in terms of what to do. So, that's a pretty big linchpin in terms of a guy who can shoot 40+% from three, 45% maybe, if he does come back. But, I think there would also be questions even then. Like, I don't know, he's had concussion issues. He's coming off a pretty major injury. If he does come back, there's still, probably some durability and just kind of rust questions that would have to be answered with him as well.
All right. I know you love it when we do this, but it seems like you've had a knack for it when you've come on the show. A little bit of breaking news as we speak. Jeff Borzello is reporting that Alabama freshman Nas Cunningham is entering the transfer portal. A former, obviously, ESPN 100 recruit, 6'7" wing guy. Had you heard his name as the potential getting in the transfer portal?
Yeah, not surprising in the least. In fact, I'd say he's probably at the top of the list in terms of guys that I would have expected, just because he didn't play. And we've seen that formula before where Chris Parker comes in as a freshman last season, redshirted, did not play, leaves, goes to Villanova. Davin Cosby didn't really play a whole lot for Alabama, left, went into the portal, went to Wake Forest, is back in the portal now. So guys want to play. I mean, the whole idea of like, I'm going to go to a school in redshirt and wait my turn and sit around for a couple years and then work my way into the lineup, that's gone. Like, that's gone from college sports, especially, where there's money involved, and we're back now to 4-year eligibility because the COVID thing doesn't come into play. There's an urgency for a lot of these guys to get on the court. Everybody wants to be in the NBA, or if it's football, everybody wants to be in the NFL. And this is a guy who redshirted, was sitting on the bench the whole year. And those are the guys who you have a lot of confidence that they will go into the portal. That's just how things work these days.
I know Landrum asked this question in one shape or form at the beginning of this interview, but I am curious because of the fact that both Alabama and Auburn is going to have to do this in basketball this year. Last year after the Final Four, you could identify some pieces like, okay, if Mark Sears comes back, if Grant Nelson comes back, okay, if you can get a big guy, okay, well, Mari's out there. If he didn't go to North Carolina, get him to Tuscaloosa. You could see things working out. On the pieces that are currently on the board for Alabama, in your opinion, which ones do you believe Alabama values the most in regards to trying to get a core to build around?
I think Aiden Sherrill would be the number one guy for me, because he can play a really big role for you next year. Even if you do bring in a 7-footer, which I think you need to regardless, like Noah Williamson, you still need a second guy down low. And I think Aiden Sherrill is kind of naturally able to step into a bigger role. And he has, like we saw in the game against Duke, like he has some ability to step out, hit some threes. You can maybe put him even at the 4 and go with a bigger lineup with 2 big guys down there. And I think that will be a pretty important piece to have back. But I think the guy that might have the most appeal in terms of the biggest market elsewhere is probably Darion Reed, as a 5-star, as a guy who was, in some circles was a lottery pick projected coming into this season. If he gets an offer to go somewhere else, I think there's going to be some interest from other schools if he does go into the portal. So it kind of depends on what your potential role is for a player versus what other teams' potential roles are. I think Aiden Shaw can play as big of a role as anybody on this roster next year, even Aiden Holloway. You lose Sears, you potentially lose Phylon. I think Holloway would make for a natural starter to have back, but a guy like Sherrell, who's 6'10", can shoot, from deep, has played some good basketball for you. I think that's number one on my list in terms of the guy I would want to build around next year.
There was a story that came out, and there was a tweet, and Pat and I were kind of shaking our heads. Kevin Willard, of course, head coach at Maryland, just led his team to a tournament. He's taking the job at Villanova. But someone tweeting out that Nate Oats was going to be staying in Alabama and not taking that Maryland job. Did we miss something there, Mike? Was there some smoke there with Nate Oats potentially going to College Park and leaving Tuscaloosa?
No, so when I saw Jeff Goodman's tweet, that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say his name, but I'm glad you did.
Right. No, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, in terms of it, when he reported this morning that Nate, was not interested in the Maryland job, I was like, where the heck did this come from? I hadn't seen it either. Apparently, it was a fake account, one of those, what do you want to call it, satire or troll or whatever the case may be. I don't think there was actual legitimate reporting around that. I think it was more just a Twitter thing. So, that sort of stuff happens, and I just would not have conceived that being a landing spot for Nate Oats. Maryland's a little bit of a mess right now in terms of their administration, their athletic director turnover, and, the reason why Kevin Willard left the Big Ten to take a Big East job. So it never made sense from the get-go. But, I think I said it a month or two ago with you guys. Like, I think if there's a next job for Nate Oats, it's more than likely going to be in the NBA as opposed to in college.
Speaking of coaching staff, one assistant, I don't know if that's even official yet, but expected to potentially be departing that coaching staff. What can you tell us about turnover within Nate Oats' staff and what we could be looking at?
Yeah, another offseason of it. So Ryan Pannone, who had been hired when they had all three coaches leave 2 off seasons ago, is now taking the Arkansas State job, which Brian Hodgson had taken when he left Alabama, and he turned it into a very highly rated mid-major program in 2 years, and now took the South Florida job. So a little bit of a pipeline there with Jeff Purinton, who's the AD at Arkansas State, has the background at Alabama, and Pannone's a grinder. That's kind of his MO. He's a guy that watches a ton of film, really into the X's and O's, and I think brought a lot to Alabama. I think him and Nate really meshed well together in terms of 2 basketball minds, 2 basketball junkies, if you will. And, Pannone played a pretty big part in running the offense, the last 2 years. And the offense obviously was very highly rated in terms of, their KenPom rankings and all that. So, another year of having to find someone, to replace him. I'm sure Nate isn't too surprised that, I think Pannone's been in the mix for different jobs over the years and was in the mix for the Fresno job last year. So just going to have to find someone else. And that's the 5th coach now that he's lost, 5th assistant coach to a head coaching job in the last 3 years, which is bananas.
I want to go back to the transfer portal and the development, the architecture of this roster. If you had to put a number on the over-under on new faces on that basketball roster for next year, what number are we talking about?
So I'd have to guess depends on which way you're working it, from guys returning or guys leaving. They've averaged about 5 or 6 guys leaving through the portal the last couple of years. And then in this particular year, they're losing 4 guys to graduation. So in theory, if you lose what you've lost average-wise in the portal, plus the guys you're losing to graduation, you're talking 10 new guys maybe. I don't know if the number will be that high, but probably 6.5 new guys. If you're counting the freshmen, the 3 freshmen they've already signed, probably, 8 or 9 new guys I could see. I mean, that's just reality. That's how things work. And, you potentially have a little bit more space with the house settlement because you could go to 15 with the roster limit, unless the SEC puts in place the 13 scholarship limit itself, which had been discussed. I don't know if that's going to happen. But even then, are you really is a guy going to come to Alabama to be the 14th scholarship player?
Right.
Like, you know you're not going to play. So, but you have a little bit more room. If you wanted to add a couple more guys, you theoretically could. So, yeah, I would put the number of new guys somewhere in the 8.5, 9 range if you're counting the 3 freshmen that we already know are going to be new. And that would obviously mean, adding a few guys through the portal. But, we'll see what happens here.
That is Mike Rodak. Does an excellent job covering Alabama sports for Bama 247. Glad to have you back in the 205, Mike. We will catch up with you soon.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks. That's Mike Rodak joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. More 3-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 12:54, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. Some transfer portal news to pass along to you. Starting to see some other names start making its rounds. And Yaxel Lindeborg from UAB, he has entered the transfer portal. Now, he has 1 year of eligibility remaining. So he's entered the portal, but he's also declaring for the NBA draft. So you can do that. You can see what your draft status would be, and then you can make a later decision. That's what Janai Broom and other people did in regards to last year, and they were able to get an idea of what the NBA thinks of your ability or where you might go in the draft. I did see for about a week ago, have not checked it over the last couple of days, where Yaxel Lindeborg, he was listed about as a 28, 29 pick. Yeah, that would be a first rounder in the NBA draft. I don't know what that means from a monetary slot.
I don't either. And from people that I trust, I think that the market value for a guy like Yax is, I do believe that there's around a $2 million offer if he were to choose to go to said school, that might be on the table. But yeah, it's interesting how the transfer portal has kind of changed everything as far as the guy's thought process of whether to come back. Janai Broom would have been an example of that this year, and we've had others. But Yaxel Lindeborg, a big man like that, he will be in high demand, that is for sure. Something was in high demand at my house. If you want to go with alcohol-free refreshment, I got a great alternative for you. It's our friends at Mystic Beverage, made in Blount County, Alabama. It's sparkling water that's infused with various cannabinoids for relaxation and focus. I always go with a Lift Blend. I say always. Most of the time I go with a Lift Blend. It's got the CBD, the CBG, the Delta-9, but the green coffee bean extract. It's going to boost both your body and your mind. That pick me up when you need it during your work day, or you just got some tasks you need to perform around the house. But also, you can go with the High Hills Delta-9. You got the 5 milligram, the 15 milligram for a balanced and elevated vibe. The Nirvanic, which is the 25 milligram Delta-8. That is a smooth, calming experience. However you want to feel, you can do it with our friends at Mystic Beverage. You can find them at your local Piggly Wiggly, made right here in the state of Alabama. MysticBeverage.com for more information.
Another name to keep your eye on, because I've heard through different sources that maybe Auburn might be interested in this player. Kansas freshman center, Flory Badunga from the Congo. He backed up Hunter Dickinson. He averaged 5.9 points, 5 rebounds, 1.6 blocks in 16 minutes of play this year. He is someone to keep your eye on.
Badunga.
Yep. Flory Badunga.
He just sounds like he could shatter a backboard.
And he's also put on his tag, do not contact, which
means he's already got a deal in place. We know how this works.
So I wonder if Auburn could potentially be that team. It is 1 o'clock. Welcome back in. This is Three Man Front. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson, Conrad Van Order is doing the morning show next couple of days. He'll be back with us on Wednesday.
Do you like the name for it?
Do what?
With it. Do you like the name I sent you? No, I hadn't thought of that before.
Oh, yeah. That was good. Landrum will be departing for San Antonio on Wednesday. He will be live from San Antonio, the Gonzales Convention Center.
Yes.
Down, not too far away from the Alamo Dome. That's where he'll be set up on Thursday and Friday. Molly and myself, we will be live at 18 South at the Edge down in Homewood. So join us live on location. Stallions cheerleaders will be there. There's a lot going on all day long at the Edge. And then there'll be a watch party later that night for the Stallions game against Michigan.
Well, and part of the deal, and our friends at Westwood One, I'm going to be on Radio Row as I was in Minneapolis, but they bring current coaches, past basketball coaches. You can get a football coach. It's kind of a who's who and just whoever shows up at the Final Four. But I am efforting, Pat. If there is one person that I want them to bring by,
PJ Fleck.
It is. Well, no, I'd love to see PJ. We text.
Well,
text every now and then.
I mean, you guys talked about rowing the boat there on the Mississippi River in Minneapolis,
running through walls and winning Big Ten titles.
Mm-hmm.
He almost won a Big Ten title.
Did he?
But Kevin Harlan, if they can bring him by, that would be amazing. We can clear the air.
I think you're on the DNI list. Do not interview.
I blame you guys.
I mean, you're the one that said you didn't like his
putting out that fake news, Pat. That's what you do. Kevin Harlan, he was great. I actually really enjoyed all of the games that I witnessed this weekend and how they were called from a broadcasting standpoint. Probably a reason for that.
I guess.
Well, you don't always get that in the first two rounds.
No.
You get some of those. I'll just leave it at that. You don't always get that.
No.
I'm thankful we had the crew that we did this weekend.
So I've been talking a lot about Auburn punching their ticket to the Final Four. They will be taking on the wonderful Florida Gators, who knocked off Texas Tech 84-79. Texas Tech was up by 9 points with 2:51 to go in that basketball game. Florida went on a 12-2 run. Walter Clayton Jr., 30 points, including that impressive fadeaway three-pointer with just 59 seconds left that put Florida ahead, and Texas Tech could not hit free throws down the stretch either. So the Gators and Auburn, and it's interesting because Todd Golden used to be the director of basketball operations at Auburn University back in 2014. And Bruce Pearl's the one that gave him his start in basketball. And then he found his way to San Francisco. He was successful as the head coach of the Dons, got the Florida job, and it's been nothing but upward for Todd Golden and his Gators.
How much of a storyline will it be that three of the head coaches in the Final Four are Jewish?
It's very interesting. To my knowledge, I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't. I'd have to go back and look, but to have three of the four represented, we know how outspoken Bruce Pearl has been.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if someone asked John Shire or potentially Todd Golden about some of those things that Bruce Pearl has said, and maybe they get one directed at them, like, why have you chosen not to be outspoken? Or would you like to comment on the same thing that Bruce Pearl? That will be a part of, I'm guessing, some of the festivities that we get. Not festivities, but the Q&A sessions we get at the Final Four.
Duke will be taking on the Houston Cougars because the Cougars, they just embarrassed Tennessee, 69-50. The Cougars led 35-15 at halftime. I was out and about yesterday, and I was listening to the coverage on Westwood One, and Molly starts texting me about how bad it was. And I thought she was lying.
Thanks, Molly.
I thought Molly was just making this up.
No, it was terrible.
I was watching too.
They were like at one point, 0 for 14 from 3.
Oh, yeah.
It was disgusting while I was watching the first half. Then I ran down the street or down the road. I had to pick up something, and I was listening to the broadcast on Westwood One, and nothing really changed.
Mm-mm.
It was just bad.
15 points scored in the first half by Tennessee was the lowest amount of points scored in a half in the history of the NCAA tournament by a team that was either a 1 or a 2 seed. That has never happened. The Vols started 0 for 14 from the three-point arc. Matter of fact, they didn't hit 20 points until 17 minutes left to go in the game.
When did they finally hit double digits? It was really late the first half.
Yeah, it was bad. Ziegler's last game at Tennessee, he was 1 for 9 from the floor, finished with 5 points, 5 assists, 4 turnovers. Meshack had 4 points and 5 rebounds and was 0 for 4 from the free throw line. So it was just an ugly afternoon for Tennessee basketball as they lose by 19 to Houston. And now Houston gets the assignment of taking on Duke.
Well, in the Tennessee team, we know how they play defense, but what was the most impressive thing to me about Tennessee, even coming into this, you can go back to the SEC tournament, but the way that they played, especially against their second and third round opponents, was their shooting. And there had been times this year where their shooting was just off the grid, but for guys like Chaz Lanier or a Jordan Gainey to come off the bench and to provide those shots, but those shots were just nowhere to be found yesterday. They were getting good looks too. They were getting some good looks, from air balls to barely drawing iron to back iron clangs. You saw them all. You did not see a whole lot of balls going through the basket. Not for them. And then Houston, on the other hand, was almost like they couldn't miss at times.
Yeah. So Duke is a 4.5, 5-point favorite over the Houston Cougars in San Antonio. Meanwhile, Auburn is a 2.5-point dog to the Florida Gators on Saturday. The NFL meetings are going on down in the state of Florida. This was the big news leading up to the meetings. The Green Bay Packers, they have made a proposal to ban the tush push that the Philadelphia Eagles have made famous. And so a source to ESPN says that there is strong support within the competition committee to ban the tush push. Now, another source with direct knowledge of competition committee says that the proposal will be hotly contested among the coaches, general managers, and owners as they gather for the league meetings, which start today. I saw an interview with Sean McDermott, who is the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, this morning, and he made no bones about it. He said that it should be banned. So not only are the Green Bay Packers vehemently opposed to it being legal, but so is Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and he was citing injury. And there's no studies. There's nothing that would support him from saying that, but he said it anyway. The owners are going to vote on the ban tomorrow. So it's just pretty interesting to see if that is going to absolutely come to fruition. Also from the NFL owners meetings, Mike Tomlin met with the media this morning, and he made no bones about it, that they have been talking with Aaron Rodgers. He's been trying to get to know Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is trying to get the organization. He says he has no update on what potentially is going to happen. But it was interesting that he just kind of tackled that subject right out of the gate in regards to what he envisions about his potential quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and if that deal will come to pass.
Yeah, I'm sure guys like Hayward and some of those others are just holding their breath waiting on Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers probably doesn't care. He's got, maybe 1 season left in the tank? 2? So he can take his time, and somebody will pay him big money to come in and try to do it for their team. Posey asked the question back to the tush push and making it illegal. If you ban the tush push, then why is the quarterback sneak still legal?
I can't disagree with that. I don't know. I think it's going to be okay. I don't think they're going to have enough because, first off, if you go and you look at the coaching tree of dudes that came from Philadelphia that is now current head coaches in the NFL, you know they're not going to vote to ban it because they all benefited from it. Yeah. I mean, seriously, look, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals head coach, the Indianapolis Colts head coach, Sirianni's not going to vote against it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you've got 4 or 5 that's absolutely not going to vote against it. Yeah, to see how this is going to break out amongst the coaching lines, I think it will go without saying it's going to go within, if you are a Philadelphia Eagle coaching tree member or you're someone that obviously has benefited from it in the past as well.
Bobby chiming in, he says that the tush push should 100% be banned. The NFC Championship game where the Commanders kept jumping off sides is the perfect example of why, according to Bobby. Yeah,
Do you think it should be banned?
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
No. If you're in need, if it's a situation that calls for a tush push, then that's on you, defense.
I mean, the bottom line is that if Sean McDermott and the Bills could do the tush push better, they would probably be in a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yep.
But they didn't, and they're not. So now they want to ban it.
Start banning the play action pass.
Just think about when the forward pass came into existence. How many people wanted to shut that down?
Yeah. We're already doing away with kickoff. What else are we going to do? No more crossing routes over the middle?
Flag football, man. That's where it's going.
Yeah, it probably is. We'll continue with your phone calls and your text, 205-834-9450. Already had a busy show. Mike Rodak, Bama 247, kind of put a bow on the Alabama basketball season. The season's over, but recruiting, the transfer portal, all that good stuff, Pat, it's heating up, and already some well-known names, not only out of this part of the country, but across college basketball, entering their names into the portal and beyond.
Yeah, there's a big center at the University of Kansas. Flory Badunga from the Congo. He was Hunter Dickinson's backup. He averaged 5.9 points, 5.4 rebounds, 1.6 blocks. He is 6'9", and he was a freshman this year. So he is leaving. So is Rylan Griffin, who is a former Alabama player who ended up at Kansas. And as Landrum pointed out in the first hour of the show,
his basketball skill regressed.
Yes, his numbers went just down the other way.
Drop.
That's what happens when you go to play for a coach that has a toupee.
I think that toupee, though, is sewn in now.
Yeah, he's gone to Europe. He's gotten that thing.
Yeah, that thing is, he got the Elton John treatment on that
thing. Snapped in.
Yeah. Yeah. You think it's real human hair?
Might be synthetic.
It looks real.
It's good.
Do you wash it?
I don't know. Like unsnap it and wash it? Like put it in the dishwasher? Like on the first rack?
Ew.
Like where you put your ball caps? Remember the ball caps?
Yeah. You put it in the first rack of your dishwasher?
I don't know. Maybe that works. Or do you just air it out? You just let it, like on a nice spring day when the pollen's gone. Just
put it up on
put it at the end of your flagpole.
I could see Bill Self doing that.
Yeah. Or maybe he has just a bunch of different ones.
Like different colors. Kind of like different hats.
Didn't somebody ask him? I thought a reporter asked him about it.
They may have.
And he made reference to, yeah, everybody thinks it's fake, but it's real. I know how you feel. I get accused of it too.
You do?
I've been accused of certain listeners on this show. Yeah. It was during football season.
Having a toupee?
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Okay.
I don't color it. It's all my real hair. Hopefully it stays with me. It's the eyebrows I got to keep trim, man. These things. Whew, get out of whack.
Courtesy Madness is still going on at Courtesy GMC in Trussville as they close out the month of March. Courtesy GMC is dialing up the offers as they close this out, up to $14,500 off 2025 GMC Sierras in stock. Take advantage of this. Up to $6,000 off MSRP on the brand new 2025 GMC Yukon Denali. This machine is just incredible. The Yukon Denali is they offer the luxurious and capable full-size SUV experience, a great interior, redesigned information center, available with 24-inch wheels and a powerful 6.2-liter V8 engine. How about Canyons 2025 brand new, 10% off MSRP? How about $3,000 off MSRP on the 2025 GMC Acadias? You see the theme here. Lots of savings. Courtesy GMC in Trussville, exit 32 off of I-459 in Trussville, Edwards Lake Road next to Lowe's, or visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com.
We continue. We still have an edition of Pat Ponders here on this Reaction Monday, 3-man front and jocks, 94.5.
118 Jocks 94.5 transfer portal. Yaxel Lindenberg, of course, the outstanding power forward for UAB, set all sorts of records. He has entered the transfer portal. He's also entered his name into the NBA draft. So if he does not get the information that he desires from the NBA draft folks, he could find himself available. There's been a lot of rumors, Landrum, that he was offered a seven-figure deal before this previous season to go elsewhere. But he decided, because of his loyalty to Andy Kennedy and UAB, he stayed and came back. And so now there's all sorts of rumors about how much more money is potentially on the table for Yaks to continue to play at the college level.
Yep. And some other names that you mentioned, you brought up, but Giannis Badonga, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
From, I'm trying to see here. Goodness gracious. He played for Kansas this past year.
Yeah, he's from the Congo.
But Dominican Republic, I just wonder how many ties. Does Chad Baker-Mazara, does he come back? I know that I'd heard that Auburn would like to have him back if Chad Baker-Mazara chooses to come back. But maybe there's a tie there, maybe not. I don't know.
All right, so here's a couple of other names. If you follow college basketball, these names will be familiar. So Mike Wonko, the center from Mississippi State, he entered the transfer portal, and he's already committed to LSU. So he's going to stay in the SEC, and he is going there. Sincere Harris, guard from West Virginia. He was named one of the Big 12 all-defensive team. He is from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he played his freshman season at Illinois. So there's a lot of talk that he could potentially head back to his hometown of Cincinnati. Also, Reed Bailey, who is 6'10". He played at Davidson. He averaged 19 points per game. He was all A-10 honors. And apparently the University of Kentucky is a team to watch out for his services. And you saw over the weekend where the young man that got Alabama for 40-plus points from North Dakota, he committed to South Carolina. So he will be in the Southeastern Conference going up against a team that he lit up.
Well, there's plenty of good players that'll be available in the portal, but it's all about right fits, and it's all about pieces. And you see that with what Todd Golden has been able to do at Florida. This year is a great example of what Bruce Pearl has done at Auburn. Duke being one of those exceptions of the teams that are left, but not always about talent, Pat. We saw that with Arkansas early in the year. Those guys, they gotta work well together, and I think that that's something that maybe if you didn't know about Bruce Pearl, and I take it as the truth when he says that he asked the guys that are there, whether it's Janai or some of the other players, about potential players he's bringing in and having that fit, and he wants to have good people. Because if you don't have that, if it doesn't start with guys actually liking each other, then you get selfishness can creep in.
Yep.
Guys worried about their own stats, but it does seem very genuine with Auburn. And to be quite honest, it seems very genuine with that Florida team as well in their makeup.
So Houston took out Tennessee yesterday, and Landrum and I talked about it on the show before. You know, when you're in this business, sometimes you meet people that are just people that you just don't really care about, want to be around. That's the nicest way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a tremendous amount of people that you have the utmost respect for, because in this industry, you meet people that, you know, they can be pretentious, they can be arrogant, or they can be down to earth, humble. They can be good people. Well, one of those people is Bob Kesling. And yesterday wrapped up Bob Kesling's incredible career at the University of Tennessee. Took over for John Ward and just did an incredible job. And he announced earlier this year that he was stepping down as the voice of the Vols. And Mike Keith, the voice of the Tennessee Titans, who is a Tennessee graduate, he is taking over for Bob Kesling. Well, yesterday, as Houston wrapped up a 69-50 win over the Tennessee Volunteers, this is the way it sounded on the Vol Radio Network as Bob Kesling signs off for the final time.
Well, and again, thanks to all of you for listening, and sorry it wasn't a better result today. We wanted to get to the Final Four and go out on that note, but it didn't quite happen. So today it all ends for Bert, myself, and for the Tennessee basketball season. As the final score again from Indianapolis, it was Houston 69 and Tennessee 50. So this is Bob Kesling for Bert Bertelkamp, Bobby Rader, John Wilkerson, everybody else at the Vol Network. Thanks for being with us, and so long from Indy.
Not pretentious, not a big production, just this is the way that he did it for so many years, like 26 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so
class act.
Yep. So congratulations to Bob Kesling for a wonderful career at the University of Tennessee. So no matter how you feel about the rivalries between certain schools in the SEC, Bob Kesling was one of those guys that whether you were not a Tennessee Vol fan or whatever the case may be, he was always a first class and a very good broadcaster.
And a master of his craft.
Yes, very much so. So congratulations on an outstanding career. I just thought when I heard that, I was like, you know what, that's class. You know, him going out like that.
Another classy group of individuals, our friends at Stark Exterminators. With the warm weather and the grass is getting greener, but you've probably noticed outside or maybe at friends or family's house, you got some of those pesky insects, whether it's the stinging kind, whether it's the kind that are going to bite you and make those bites itch. Our friends at Stark Exterminators, they will send a professional to your home like they did at the Roberts house several years ago. They'll inspect it thoroughly inside and out and come up with a customized plan for you. But not only if you're a homeowner, but also if you're a business owner, they'll come to your place of business. Best thing to do is go with a company that's been family-owned for over 61 years. That's Stark Exterminators. Call 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com. Set up your free business or home pest inspection today. And don't forget about the termite service that they offer and protect your home and your property from termites. $5 billion worth of damage every single year in the United States, and insurance is not going to pay for the bulk of that in many situations. Our friends at Stark, they want to make sure that your investment and your home is taken care of. Give them a call today, 855-STARK now, or go to starkexterminators.com. And as always, tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll do some Pat Ponders. We will continue with your text and your calls. This is Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. Don't forget the Braves in action tonight right here on Jocks 94.5, the pregame show. Barrett Sleeve for the Braves Radio Network. That will begin at 8 o'clock right here on Jocks.
Why even listen? I'm just kidding.
Is the season over?
Braves are going to be fine.
Have they been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs?
Not yet. There's still a chance. I would like to see at least a run tonight. Just one.
You'd like to see a hit with a runner in scoring position?
Man, that'd be awesome, Pat, if we could get that done.
You got to hit better than 146 as a team.
It's a tough start. Congratulations to your Redbirds, though. And the Yankees.
One of 4 teams that remain undefeated. We have not lost.
Tequila Antrim, I feel your pain.
Have y'all won a game?
No.
Really?
We're
And I predicted
swept.
Detroit to go to the World Series.
We were swept by the
Wait,
Dodgers.
though, you can't say that it's a long season. Now you're poo-pooing your pick of Detroit. They're just getting warmed up. Pat,
Our season starts today.
the
Dodgers
ground
don't count.
the ground
Who do they
hasn't
play?
even thawed up there
The
yet.
Mariners. And then we go home and we have to play the White Sox.
It'll be like 20 degrees.
Bottom of the first inning, the Royals on top of the Brewers, who had all of that trouble. 3-0. Royals lead that one. Top of the second inning, White Sox 3-0 over the Twins at home.
Tough start for the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, BB. I know BB's a huge Twins fan.
All right, who else is a flash in the pan doing really well this year early? I feel like the Dodgers are going to be there. Cubs 2-4. You made a lot of moves. You're 2-4.
Their bullpen imploded yesterday.
Let's see. Man, American League Central.
That's a coin flip.
Royals at 1-2, White Sox 1-2, Twins 0-3, Tigers 0-3, and you've got Wimps, Cleveland Indians at 2-1. And then, man, okay, yeah, it's early. Go Braves. Hear them right here all season long.
I blame
Friend
Barrett.
Lee.
Like when will you start calling for Barrett to step down as the pregame show host?
If this thing runs to 10 straight to start the season, I'm going to ask that Kevin McAlpin come back. Or that Ben Ingram, who handles play-by-play.
Just handle the pregame show. And
Sorry,
the postgame?
Ben. No, you got other stuff you
I know
wanna
it's
do.
more work for you,
It's
Ben.
more
but
work. Yeah. Bring that up to Barrett. Barrett does a great job with the pregame. If only he could hit.
Can you imagine if we get to Friday's visit, Molly, with Barrett and the Braves haven't won a game?
I'm just worried about how Landrum will act.
I'll be
Full
fine.
milk.
Well, Landrum will be in San Antonio.
I'll be in San Antonio.
Oh, you'll be
busy.
distracted.
Yeah.
He won't.
Okay.
He won't care. Landrum's the kind that if the Braves lose 2 more games, he'll be out for like 2 weeks, and then when the Braves get back to 500, he'll be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
He'll be fine again.
I watch and I listen every night, but that's when I'll start being vocal about him and proud of him.
Mhm.
He's not proud of him now.
I'm not proud of him right now. No. Oh, 0-4. Come on. We couldn't salvage one game. I asked Barrett when he was on our show what would be acceptable starting 4 games with the Padres and 3 with the Dodgers, and he said 3-4.
He did. I remember
So
that.
now we've got to sweep the daggum Dodgers.
Good luck.
Good luck doesn't even help against that team. You might as well just hand them the commissioner's trophy. Isn't that what they call it? Anyways, we got questions from Pat. We have no idea what he's going to ask. Hopefully something inappropriate. This is Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. All right, so 2 SEC teams are in the Final Four. Of the other 14 teams in the league, how many schools are rooting for Auburn to cut down the nets, and how many are rooting for Florida to cut the nets down? And you can't say none for either. You got to pick. 14 teams. What is what's the number of schools that are rooting for Auburn, the other for Florida?
Okay, I think Alabama fans are rooting for Florida. I will say Kentucky fans pulling for Auburn.
Think so?
Tennessee fans some of them still appreciate Bruce.
Probably Auburn.
I say Auburn.
Yeah.
As opposed to Florida.
Do the rest of them really care?
Yeah.
Arkansas doesn't like Auburn. They'll be all about Florida.
I was thinking about like South Carolina and LSU, like those teams.
Ole Miss and Mississippi State's not going to be for Auburn.
No, they'll be Florida.
LSU would be Auburn.
What makes you say that?
Because they hate Florida in football.
So that spills over?
Well, you can't really. Their team wasn't any good in basketball.
What if you're
you can't hate
Georgia?
them because of basketball.
You just hate both of them.
So you think? Who do you think? Do you think anybody pulls for Auburn?
I think the majority of the people in the league will pull for Florida over Auburn.
Yeah.
There are certain people in the conference that Bruce Pearl rubs the wrong way.
Well, guy that he hired is coaching at Florida. Less scandal this year, I would say, on Auburn's campus than what went on. Supposedly, just with all the smoke. I know the investigation turned up nothing, but maybe so.
So what do you think the breakdown? 8-6 Auburn over Florida?
Yeah, if they have to vote, I would think that Florida maybe gets that vote. But see, Florida's won 2 before. Mm-hmm. So maybe it is the mindset of Florida's already won 2 national championships in basketball.
So let's give it to Auburn.
What's another one?
Oh.
As opposed to the Auburn fans will be insufferable if they win a national title.
Sure. Let's go with that.
So you go the majority are for Auburn?
Probably.
Duke playing their best basketball. Does anybody beat them?
No.
Do you think Duke playing their best and Florida playing their best? You think it's still Duke or you go Florida?
But we haven't seen Florida play its best in the tournament yet. And we may not.
No. Well, you can make the argument. They made, we saw that real Florida team when they made the run against UConn. I don't know if you could probably make that argument for everybody. I don't know. I hope we've seen the best of Duke. Hopefully they don't get any better. They look pretty solid.
Next question. Does Auburn making the Final Four put more pressure on Hugh Freeze to win or not?
No. I think it's totally separated.
Yeah, I'm going to go no, too.
I think Hugh Freeze has got pressure to win, just not only the expectations of that program, but the amount of resources. And now you've got your roster. Now you're in year 3. You got everything like you like it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you better win.
No, pressure's been on, I think. So no.
Next question. Has this year's NCAA tournament been as exciting for you as years past?
It has been for me because we've gotten really good basketball and we've gotten good closes to those basketball games. But I understand the sentiment of folks that appreciate the tournament for the magical Cinderella runs that we've had in the past. I'm just glad we've gotten really competitive games for the most part against what I consider the best teams in the country.
See, I would probably go yes and no, because with you, Landrum, like we've gotten some really great matchups and it's pretty much been a chalk year, but I like chaos and I like madness and I like it when, the big names fall and, you have the Cinderella type of story. Now, again, it might not make a great matchup in the Sweet 16, but it's still fun to kind of see the stories of some of these mid-majors. But so kind of yes and no. Like, I'm glad that we've gotten good matchups, but at the same time, I also kind of miss some of those storylines that we've gotten in years past.
Well, and going back to what I said about maybe you're in this region and there's a team that you've got a collision course with, but that team gets a St. Peter's that played really good basketball against Kentucky in the first round. Then they moved on and they got by their second round game. And then they get a St. Peter's team that doesn't have very much depth, and finally they play more like St. Peter's.
Mm-hmm.
I like having the 1 seed versus the 3 seed, the 1 versus the 2, and that.
It's a good matchup.
Yeah, we've gotten, for the most part, really good basketball. We've had some lopsided ones.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 4. We've seen former ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski auction off his old cell phones for St. Bonaventure basketball NIL. Now, Rick Pitino is auctioning off his white Armani suit for St. John's NIL. Now, the current high offer is for $7,500 for his white Armani suit. So what would be an interesting item for Bruce Pearl to auction off for Auburn NIL?
Maybe like one of his polos. I don't know.
A sweaty polo?
That's
because he sweats
I'm trying to think of
profusely.
what
Maybe an old button up that he kept
Yeah.
that still had some sweat stains around the collar. Maybe a few in the pits.
trying to think about what he
He
wears.
signed that thing.
That's why he changed to wear.
He wears a
what
golf
was-
shirt and then he wears a
the
pullover
thing over-
sometimes.
Because he said he was ruining too many suits because he was sweating so much.
Maybe an old suit.
Maybe an old telephone, like the call guide thing, and he signs the telephone.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, that's why I asked.
Yeah, I like
if
that.
Patino suit, there's a follow up there. If I buy that thing for $7,500, first thing I'm doing is going black light. I mean, Molly, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fifth and final question. The UFL this weekend averaged 8,500 fans for their 4 games. The most was 12,000 in D.C. to watch the Stallions. Only 4,000 showed up for the Memphis game. And Brett told me that it might have been 600 people, maybe. So the question is this a bad sign for the UFL, or was it because the NCAA tournament and other activities kept people from going to the game?
I think that's part of it. In the time of year now, people are just now catching on that the UFL has started.
Mm-hmm.
But if the UFL, and I hope we continue to have this league, but I don't think the UFL can expect a consistent 30,000 fan average at every game. I don't think that's a real thing. Maybe it is in St. Louis with the Battlehawks where they draw well. I don't think that's a real thing.
I don't think so. I mean, even here in Birmingham, it wasn't last year.
Right. So is it, I know you would like to have the best of both worlds, but is it more about the television ratings? Even if nobody's going to the game? That's a question that only the NFL execs, I guess, The Rock and everybody else can answer, but I don't know how much better it's going to get.
Yeah, I don't really think the tournament, maybe from a viewership standpoint, but I don't really think from an attendance standpoint that really had an effect.
That is today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Goodbye and see them right off of I-459 exit 32 in Trussville. Online inventory, courtesybirmingham.com.
Oh, we got some great texts coming in, Molly, as well. We'll get to those in the next segment. 205-834-9450.
Well, Wallace State softball returned to action over the weekend, splitting a 4-game series with Northwest Shoals. The Lady Lions are in second place in the conference with a 9-3 record. They now face Shelton State in a 4-game series beginning Thursday. So for more information on the Lions, go to athletics.wallacestate.edu.
The Reaction Monday edition of Three Man Front continues here on Jocks 94.5.
148 Jocks 94.5, the Paul Feinbaum Show coming up at the top of the hour. He'll have plenty of recap of Auburn and Florida making it to the Final Four, and also a discussion on Tennessee and Alabama not making it to the Final Four.
Our friends at Prize Picks, we got college basketball going on. We've got spring football. We've also got Major League Baseball that's heating up. But Prize Picks, whatever the sport, you got a lot of different stuff to choose from when it comes to player projections for that day, for that night. The same can be said for Major League Baseball and the season. Prize Picks, though, that is your way to interact not only with your friends, but you can win real money at Prize Picks by just guessing correctly 2 or more player projections. Download the Prize Picks app if you haven't done so. When you do it, fill out your information. Make sure you use WJOX as your promo code. You enter WJOX as the promo code, your first $5 play. Win or lose, you're going to get $50 back instantly. Tonight, I'm going Major League Baseball. Why not? You got the Braves taking on the Dodgers. Mookie Betts, 1.5 hits plus runs batted in. So if you're new to Prize Picks, if he combines for more than 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, you're a winner. I'm going to go Mookie Betts under or less, than the 1.5. But Freddie Freeman is also offered on this. And he's going up against his old team. Same with Freddie Freeman. 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. I'm going to go more Freddie Freeman tonight. I think he has a decent night for the Dodgers against my Braves. But that's Prize Picks. Enter promo code WJOX. Once you download it, fill out all your information. You're going to get the $50 instantly after your first $5 play, win or lose. We appreciate our friends at Prize Picks.
All right, so I know it's very early on in the Major League Baseball season, but so far, if you take from the World Series to current, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you Shohei Ohtani because he is the number 1 baseball jersey that has been sold, okay? Who would you say would be number 2? Ohtani's number 1.
I'll go Paul Skeens.
Okay, Paul Skeens. How about you, Molly?
I'll go Mookie.
Let's see. Mookie is number 4.
Oh, okay.
Skeens is 15th.
Okay.
Out of 20. So we still have the number 2 position.
I'll go Juan Soto.
You're going to go Juan Soto.
Tatis.
You're going to go Tatis. Both are very good choices, but neither one of them are number 2.
All right. Oh,
Mike
goodness.
Trout?
Please tell me it's not Bryce Harper.
It is not Bryce Harper. Matter of fact, Bryce Harper is now 7th in jersey sales.
You said Trout?
Trout is not in the top 20.
Ronald Acuna Jr.
Is that not crazy?
That surprises me.
Mike Trout is no longer again, he doesn't play a lot.
Well, yeah. But still.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you say Acuna?
Yeah.
Acuna is currently 9th. And this is a culmination of sales from the end of the World Series to currently.
Okay.
My boy
So we're still looking for number 2.
I know he won't be on there.
You said, okay, let's
He's probably
see.
not going to be on there. I just wanted to say him.
No. Okay. I'm going to give you going from 20 down. Maybe this will kind of give you a little bit of hint. Machado is 20. Volpe with the Yankees at 19. Witt Jr., Kansas City, 18. Corey Seager from the Rangers, 17. Kiki Hernandez from the Dodgers at 16. Skeens at 15. Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles at 14. Ellie Dela Cruz from Cincinnati, 13. Tatis Jr. is 12. Clayton Kershaw is 11. Yamamoto of the Dodgers is 10. Acuna is 9.
Soto. Judge.
Soto is number 3.
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is number 5. So you guys have not given me number 2.
Freddie Freeman.
You are correct.
Oh, duh.
Goodness gracious.
Freddie Freeman is number 2 in jersey sales in Major League Baseball.
Your favorite.
Soto is 3rd. Betts is 4th. Judge is 5th. Francisco Lindor is 6th. Harper 7. Altuve is 8. As I mentioned, Acuna Jr. 9. And Yamamoto of the Dodgers is 10.
Where's Arenado? Is he?
Nope. No. Cardinals did not have anyone in the top 20.
That Arenado surprises me.
No Cardinals in the top 20. No Mike Trout in the top 20. No Tiger in the top 20.
It's okay.
We got some texts that are rolling in. 205-834-9450. Went back to your Pat Ponder's question. If you missed it, Rick Pitino's white Armani suit is going on auction. $7,500 is the dollar amount. Is that where the betting starts? At $7,500?
As of this, actually, I checked it just a moment ago. It is still at $7,500.
Okay.
That's the high offer.
Pat asked if Bruce Pearl had something auctioned off, what would it be? And we have interesting suggestions coming in. Kevin says a grill. Ryan says a grill. This one says the barbecue grill. This one says barbecue apron. Jim saying on the Bruce Pearl auction item, how about a dinner at his house since he had so much luck with that at Tennessee? That was the barbecue. Nick from North Birmingham, regardless of the outcome in the Final Four for Auburn, do you think the success of this season could impact the football team this upcoming year? I said, well, I don't know how it impacts them, but I said, no, I don't. No, the question was, does it put more pressure on Hugh Freeze? No, I don't think that they're related. In the eyes of John Cohen, I think Hugh Freeze better win this year. Johnny throwing out Aaron Judge. Josh says, I'm rooting for Auburn because of Bruce Pearl. Bobby says, I'm an LSU fan and I hate Florida way more than Auburn. Crimson Convict, I will not read yours. Put it in a poem and I might. Tripp says, Barrett Sallee is the problem. His picks and his teams usually lose. LOL, go Braves. Chop on, first win tonight. Game won't be over until 1 a.m. Eastern. Enjoy.
Let's see if there's any kind of money value in that game, shall we? Braves are plus 1.5. They're plus 189 on the money line. Yeah. So you could get some.
You got Grant Holmes, fifth guy. Well, yeah, that'd be fifth guy in your rotation going tonight with that beautiful hair.
So if Molly puts down $100 tonight on the Braves to win, which she probably will, she's going to earn a cool $180. So risk 100, Molly, you win 180.
No, Pat, that's money I got to send to Nebraska for NIL.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Bill Self puts his toupee in a hat rack in the dishwasher. Guys, is Todd Golden the youngest coach in the SEC? I think he is.
I think so. Also, we were talking about the transfer portal. Arkansas's Big Z has entered the transfer portal. 7'2" sophomore center, averaged 8.5 points, 4.3 rebounds per game. You think Bama or Auburn would be interested in Big Z?
I think they're going to be interested in a lot of names that are out there, but yeah, I think that he would be one that they would certainly take a look at. Coming up tomorrow, we're live at Social Taco. Come and join us. Doors open at 11 o'clock, but it's always fun there in the terrace. From all of us to all of you, have a great rest of your Monday. Paul Feinbaum is next.